Okay, so into this week's Street Talk, and like we said earlier on, it was a jolly good week this week, especially compared to last week's bit of a disaster of a Coronation Street that a lot of people kind of agreed wasn't so great. It's just really lovely to be able to watch it and go, oh, I think this is a good episode we're watching here, you know?
Yeah, it was good. It was a very good week.
It is. Like, there were some bits that, you know, were obviously stronger than others, but on the whole, the stories that were featured kind of pretty much had my interest. I mean, there was a little bit of the Stephen story in there on Monday and Friday. I think probably that was the one that interested me the least, even though, you know, and I'm still kind of enjoying that story. So that kind of shows where the benchmark was.
My problem with the Stephen story at the moment is that it involves the factory.
Yeah.
And I generally find factory storylines boring.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, we have said in the past that it's time that Underworld was laid to rest, wasn't it? Yeah. What?
Close down.
I thought you said pants down there.
Pants
It's probably
down.
what they call it when
Pants
they
down,
close
ladies.
it down.
We're closing the business.
Well, you know, it was good for Coronation Street. It was also a good week for EastEnders this week, wasn't it? I think we need to just do a little shout out to EastEnders because I was just getting very intrigued by Darren Little's posts over the last week saying, oh, I'll tell you what, I've written an episode that's being broadcast on Monday, though, whatever it is, of February. Everyone watch it. It's going to be awesome. There's a trailer and everything. So it's like, fine.
Sorry. Carry on. Why do you have to draw attention to everything? Like, gee, that's wrong.
So as we were having our tea on Monday night, we tuned into EastEnders, and it was a good episode, wasn't it? Didn't know who anyone was. But...
It was like going to a party where you didn't know anybody.
Well, I recognised like Sharon. The last time that we watched EastEnders was when they did the crossover with Coronation Street a year and a half or so ago. So there were some characters that I recognised, but yeah, the big thing in EastEnders this week is that we'll get onto Coronation Street in a minute. Was that they did they ended the episode with a flash forward into Christmas 2023, didn't they?
Yeah.
And it was like one of the characters was there in a wedding dress. Everyone seemed to be colour coded in the scene, didn't they?
Like Disney princesses.
And there was a dead body on the floor, but you couldn't see who it was, and there were apparently like clues around the room to just give you to make you think about what's going to happen.
Why is there a suit of armour?
What was there?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I reckon they're having a costume party.
Yeah.
And there's going to be somebody's going to be wearing a costume, and somebody's going to kill them based on the costume they're wearing, but it turns out somebody else is wearing the same costume.
Okay, well, we'll come back in December and find out whether you're right.
A case of mistaken identity, and it wasn't any of them what done it, because I reckon it's somebody else what done it, and it's the person who's dead is Dirty Den.
The Dirty Den's already dead, I'm afraid.
Well, there you go then. There you go. But... No, there you go then. The whole mystery is that it is actually already a dead person.
Well, we'll just have to wait back in December 25th and see. What would you think about Coronation Street doing something like this?
Well, because if they did it now, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is already
no, but just in general, if EastEnders hadn't done it in Coronation Street, it'd flash forward to Christmas 2023 and Stephen's there over another body or something.
I'd love it. I'd love it, but it would drive me insane.
Why? Not knowing?
I'd be like, tell me now, I can't wait.
Coronation Street has always been so much more traditional in its storytelling, hasn't it? Maybe to a fault, some people might say. But over the past couple of years, they've done a little bit more in the way of flashbacks. I mean, we had Toya's flashback just last year. Obviously, the Seb and Nina story when she remembered what had happened with the kicking and everything, that employed a really effective use of flashbacks. But
flashbacks are passé. We only do flash forwards now.
Well, they're advanced, aren't they? No, I don't know whether I'd like it. I think I really like the idea of having something to look for. No, that's why I'm bringing it into Coronation Street. I really like the idea of having something to look forward to. And if you had these characters, and apparently these lasses who were around this corpse on EastEnders are all some of the biggest some of the biggest characters in EastEnders.
Can I tell you, they're not called lasses, they're called birds.
Birds. Some of these birds that are around the Deadon are some of the biggest ones. So this would be like having, you know, Carla and Gail and Jenny Bradley and Sarah Louise and stuff. Sorry if I'm missing out any other massive ladies. Leanne, Toya, around some kind of corpse. And I'd be like, I think I'd quite like it. But then there'd be a little bit in my back of my head saying, no, Coronation Street doesn't do it.
Well, I don't care what you say.
You'd be up for it,
in this
would
parallel
you?
universe. We're divorced.
What other kind of flashes could there be? Because Coronation Street can't copy it now.
Hot flashes.
What? Can you have like a
parallel universe?
Yeah, maybe
flashes?
it'll be like in Lost when they did the flash sideways.
Where they flash into a different show.
Well, I don't know. I thought it was a very clever thing for EastEnders to do.
I think they should forget all of that and just shoot Lorraine Kelly in the arse again.
And they made a nice colour coded
poster
for it as well. It's good. Everyone's talking about EastEnders at the moment, and it's
even
making
us.
me even us. And we're a Coronation Street podcast.
Exactly.
Well, somebody's got to, because Walford Weekly is going to be shutting down soon, aren't they? We found out recently. Okay. That's tragic.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that is sad.
I know that is very, very sad. But we
like
talk
a
about that
phoenix
another
rising
time.
from the ashes. There will be another.
Everyone's talking about EastEnders, and it makes me wonder whether people, the top dogs at Coronation Street, are thinking, do we need to do more?
This?
Are we worried? Because Corrie didn't do so well in the awards last year, did they? And I know that apparently since early autumn last year or late summer, EastEnders has apparently been on fire, and it's been some heavy hitter after heavy hitter and storylines. And our Coronation Street going, do we need to do more? Because it feels like they're putting all their eggs in the one basket of Stephen Reed this year.
No, it doesn't.
Yeah, well, I know that's what it feels like they're banking on. Yes, there's the big storyline, the Max one, but it's coming to an end.
What's happening.
Go on then, you tell me.
EastEnders has got a sniper rifle and it's aiming at one thing and it's doing it really well, and it's got a headshot from 1,000 feet. Right, Coronation Street just filled its shotgun up with buckshot and is just firing helplessly at a bird that's flown off. Do you see what I mean?
Which bird of EastEnders is it?
It's the one called Sheila.
No, that's probably in the Neighbours or something.
No, but you know what I mean? They're going issues. And there's no consequence because the bird's just gone, bye then, stupid.
That's Coronation Street, is it? Well,
can you see my analogy?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You're saying that there's only one story, and I'm saying no, there's not. There's literally everyone here is like a issue storyline.
I still think,
and it's not. I don't know that is working because the consequences aren't in place.
It still feels to me like the Stephen one is the long-running storyline for 2023, and everything else, like say the Daisy Stalker storyline, which is great, it could be well over and done in the next couple of months. I don't know, but we will see. So sorry for that little divergence there, but we have been watching other soaps this week, we confess. So we're going to be starting off with the story that took up the vast majority of the screen time this week, and it was just a bit of everything, wasn't it? It was kind of the culmination of the Max Streamism storyline. Not that he's got out of prison or anything, but it felt like lots of things came to a conclusion with Alya finally kind of standing up to Max and telling him, what he needed to hear, as uncomfortable as it was. But also we had Shona returning to Weatherfield this week, so that part of the storyline I'm calling Show Home.
Oh, God.
Yeah, thank you. You hadn't seen that one before, have you? There was also Zidane bogging off. We wondered on Friday last week, is he going? And maybe on Monday he actually went.
Is he gone?
Yeah, is he gone? I think he is gone now. What's all that about? I don't know. Then we had the Look Who's Stalking storyline, which is definitely, the B storyline compared to everything else, but I am... compared to the Max storyline this week it is, but I mean they had...
I think people would argue with you about that.
They had Charlie Jordan and Rob Mallard on Lorraine maybe this week, so they're doing the kind of the publicity circuit for it, but it feels smaller. There aren't as many characters involved in it, are there, I suppose, compared to the other ones, but I'm absolutely loving that. Then we had that LSD seat storyline with Stephen and his drugging up with Carla, which, according to somebody posted on a Facebook group this afternoon, I think it was, I think he's overdoing it a little bit. Did we talk last week on the podcast about how much LSD are you supposed to give somebody if you want to make them hallucinate shapes? He's given a little bit too much with those drops. So
he explains why she's having a sad time.
But maybe it does. Or maybe
it's too much of a good thing sometimes.
Maybe it's diluted. I don't know. And we also had what's going on with Paul, and I wasn't expecting what.
I'm laughing about your pun. Yeah.
No, I was Paul's not my favourite character, and when he got knocked off a bike last week, I thought, well, there's a little bit of drama just so Carla could feel guilty and get off work. But it looks like there's going to be consequences with that because he's got wonky hand syndrome, hasn't he? There's the technical term for it. Can't pick things up, can't pick up his darts, can't pick up his glass. I don't know what he's doing with his left hand because...
I know, he looked at his wine today when he couldn't pick up his right hand like, oh, what should I do?
Boiled again. Oh. Yeah, my storyline title for this is... Pull my finger. Pull my finger. Yeah. And the rest of my hand, but that's not funny. So, do you want me to...
Some people would say.
Do you want me to take the big story this week, Gemma?
If you want to.
I do need you to chip in with your thoughts and witty commentary here and there.
Before I forget, and I felt that other people probably feel the same way about this as I do, the extremism bit with the councillor getting his comeuppance felt very anticlimactic to me. And one of the reasons why is that almost every single major thing happened off screen.
Yeah.
And it was all week we had Toya and Spider talking about. It was really frustrating because it wasn't even like Spider was telling her stuff that you weren't allowed to watch for some reason, but he wasn't even telling her that. He was like, I can't tell you, it's a secret, I can't tell you. And so we didn't get to see any of the investigation work or anything like that. Not that it would have been that interesting. And then when he finally comes to arrest him, we don't even see that either. That was a really weird choice.
It really was. It was. You're right. When he revealed, I know we're chopping and jumping all over the place in this, but when he revealed to Griff, oh yeah, we found your laptop in the water cooler or the water tank or wherever it was. Wouldn't it have been great if they'd have shown it?
I don't understand why...
Councillor Cameron getting arrested and papped and everything because the cameras were there. Did we blink and miss that scene? Did it really not happen? It feels like
it would have been really satisfying to have watched those scenes happen.
But all that happens is Spider comes out of the car with his gun holster.
Like, yeah, I'm going to shoot you up.
Yeah, that's what he gets his web slingers in, I think.
And I imagine that the whole thing with Toya and Spider, of him going, oh, I can't tell you what's happening, actually. Oh, I'm a secret policeman. It's like supposed to drive a wedge between them so that I don't know, is he going to leave and she won't be that sad because she's like, oh, it's just too hard to not know.
Feels like there's something being,
There's a distance being created because of his job.
Yeah, so, I mean,
that worked well, but it wasn't satisfying as a story device to go, Toya, so many interesting things were happening off screen.
Well, it's the same with Blake's sentencing as well, and I had a feeling that we wouldn't see that because I think I saw that the actor who plays Blake had said, oh yeah, that was my last scene, but they were building up to it quite a lot this week, and Alya saying, oh, we're going to make my victim personal statement, and I suppose that's why they showed her reading it out to Yasmin on Wednesday's episode, looking back on it now, rather than having it again show up on tonight's.
Yeah. Every single time somebody said victim personal statement, it drove me nuts.
It doesn't sound like that's the right order of words.
It has to be that way around because it can't be personal victim statement because it makes it sound like you have a personal victim that you just victimise.
You're my personal victim.
And this is why you do it. Like, I'm always mean to Tim because he's a big asshole and he deserves everything he gets and nobody should like him, etc., etc. But you know that there's an inherent order of adjectives that we have in English that we don't realise that we have, but you have to say them in that order.
Yeah, like you say a big red car rather than a red big car.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a very specific way that you have to say it, and in all English speakers, native English speakers will automatically, without even thinking about it, order those correctly. It just feels like that.
Yeah, the victim personal statement
that goes against everything.
They need to rebrand that, don't they?
I should call it the what should they call it? The drama queen statement.
Speaking of branding, I do want to mention. I mentioned this to you the other day. What? I was just going back to that South Park episode again when Kyle was going to get his brand and he was getting these bullet points and it was victim.
It wasn't
at the
Cartman.
End.
It was Kyle.
I said Kyle. Right. I can't remember what some of them
was. You're a helpful, friendly, environmentally aware victim.
Yeah, and that would be Alya. If she needs rebranding, and by gosh, she needs rebranding because she's not the most engaging of character. It's going to have victim at the end.
You're a well-dressed, raven-haired, beautiful, assistant to Dee Dee, victim.
Yeah. She is. So the fact that Alya was making a victim personal statement was just perfect, really, because she has been a victim for the last 5, 6, 7 years. I kind of
expected her to be like, Gran, they've asked me to do a victim personal statement, but they only want me to talk about what happened with the stabbing.
They've only given me one A4 sheet of paper to write it on.
Can I do both sides in like a 6-point font or something? What's the best font for writing as much as possible? I'm going to get rid of all the margins. Not going to be double spaced, that's for sure.
I think I'm going to need to learn shorthand. Alya.
We are being really mean,
but that's because we're about to heap praise on Alya because she was fab this week.
And this
is one of her golden moments.
Yeah, and this was a great opportunity for Sarah Khan to show off how excellent she is at performing. And Alya is kind of like,
she's kind of the butt of our jokes on the podcast a little bit.
But she's like Tim, isn't she now? Like, it's nothing she can do, but we do. Week. Yeah, this if anything's gonna make us into Alya fans, it was this week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. She's doing a brilliant job. She's great.
Oh yeah. Should we talk about what happened in this week?
We've talked about that storyline, so let's talk about Look Who's Stalking.
Right, okay. So Monday's episode starts off with David nursing a hangover in the cafe.
And what was that for? What did he do?
He's just having a rough old time with Max, isn't he? And Max doesn't want to see him and stuff. And yeah, exactly. And Daniel comes over to him and he tells David, "Sorry, I've not seen Max. He's not in any of my classes. Maybe." But because this we weren't sure, and I know people told us this. I think Rebecca might have told us that the place where Daniel is working now is very handily and coincidentally the place that Max was going to end up. I mean, if we'd have known that, it would have been fairly obvious that Max was going to get sent down. I knew that, and I was. I know. I thought I was wrong. No.
Sorry, I didn't know what your end of that sentence was going to be.
No,
I think I said last week that I was sure that if he's gonna.
Oh, okay.
I was like, surely Daniel's going to end up here. Otherwise, what is the point?
Yeah, no. Whereas I was saying last week, no, they'd never put him in the class with somebody who pushed him down the stairs. But apparently, there's a teacher shortage in prisons as well.
So you don't believe in soap coincidence all of a sudden.
So anyway, Daniel is indeed working at the. I can't remember what it's called now.
Ne'er-do-well Boys Club.
The Borstal or whatever that Max is in. But he's going to make some inquiries about him. And he's like saying to David, "Oh, it's not such a bad place, really." And how ironic, David says that after everything we've been through, Daniel, you're the one who can help him. Makes you think. So
the first lesson is whiteboard racism.
Bad.
Cross through that. Okay? See? Right, everyone can go.
Now let's read a poem about it. So Blake's sentencing is coming up this week, and Alya spends the first couple of episodes kind of dithering over whether she's going to...
Spoiler alert.
To do this victim personal statement
or
not. She says at the beginning of Monday's episode that what's the point? It's not going to change the judge's decision after all. Wonder if she'll stick to that. So meanwhile, in the prison...
Can you just imagine the judge going, well, I was going to give you 15 years, but apparently... you don't have any victims, so I'm going to let you out.
Yeah. Anybody? It's like at a wedding, isn't it? Does anybody here object?
Objections for him being let out now? Yeah, I do.
Anyone has just cause why this?
He did a stab in my side.
15-year sentence should not take place. Anyway, so Max has a bit of a run-in with the bullies in prison again.
Can't believe it.
I know. And somebody at my work knows.
Goes to prison.
No. They're all lovely and law-abiding citizens. Somebody at my work says that they knew one of the people playing one of the bullies in there.
So here you go, everybody. You can say, you listen to a podcast where somebody on there knows somebody, knows the person
somebody
who's
plays
in
a
Coronation
very minor
Street.
character in Coronation Street.
So,
thank you very much.
Kevin Bacon that.
Yeah. So anyway, they're cornering Max in his cell and making fun of him and like saying, "Oh, Max, bet English is your favourite subject because you love the English, don't you?" So on and so on. Very witty, these guys.
Maybe I'm naive, but I just don't think that you would get bullied for being a racist in prison.
Yeah, what crimes have these done?
They're like, we only beat up white supremacists, and that's why we're in here.
I don't know.
We're the wokest prisoners in this place.
I think there's like we're just like here. We've just been doing chemical warfare, but tell you what, racism.
Don't agree
no,
with
thank
it.
you. So and they advance on him, and then we cut out of Max's cell, and we hear him going, no, don't beat me up or whatever. And at this stage in the episode, very early in the week, I was thinking, oh, this isn't great actually. I don't care about Max being bullied, but actually it led to some really, really effective scenes later on, because he's there all kind of beaten up and blooded and bruised, isn't he? And they're really, really, really trying to get some sympathy for Max. He's getting the full-on Kelly Neelan treatment, isn't he?
He is a bit, yeah. Being reformed.
They're really trying to, but I think, you know, he did do a lot of what people are saying he did, and Kelly supposedly didn't.
He still hasn't actually said, I was wrong about everything.
He's saying, like, I'm turning the corner and everything,
he's
isn't
saying,
he? But
yeah, but he hasn't specifically said.
He needs to come out and say.
He needs to come out and go, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely a real difference between going, I understand that everyone thinks this is wrong, to, I understand that this is wrong.
Mm.
And at the moment, he's only on, I know everyone really hates this.
Yeah, he's on a journey.
Because before, he was like, everyone secretly thinks this too. Wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so. So anyway, Max's caseworker comes to join him in his cell later, and he's got this deep cut on his left cheek. And it reminded me a little bit of Todd when he had that scar, that permanent scar. Do you remember Todd's permanent scar that he would have for the whole of the rest of the...
He had that on his other face.
Yeah, he did have it on his other face, and then he had a face
like
swap.
Return to Oz. Did you see that with the scary hallway with all the witches?
No, but I do know of that film.
That's terrifying.
Freaky, that
film.
Isn't
that good? No.
That's the one that's got the people with wheels and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Return to Oz. Don't like it. Don't like that at all. Anyway, so the caseworkers...
Wheelers, they're called.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, next.
So the caseworker is like really sympathetic towards Max and everything, and says that you need to get yourself checked out and everything, and also maybe tell me who did this. And he, you know, the victim.
Look, I might be a racist, but I'm not a grass.
He's not a grass. No, she says, look, I'm gonna have to call home. I need to tell David about this. I need to tell your dad. And he's like, no, I don't. Well, obviously she has to, safeguarding procedures and all. David gets a phone call, and she's like, look, Max is fine and everything, but he's been involved in a bit of an incident. He's been cut on the face, and sorry, Max doesn't want to see you. And David's like,
has it ruined his looks? No, it's one of those enhanced cuts that makes you look more sexy. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so it's going to get you all the girls, Max, promise. So David's like mega annoyed by this, and he orders himself a big whiskey from the pub. He's just feeling like the worst dad in the world at this point. That his son in inverted... No, he did adopt him, didn't he? So I will remove those inverted commas. His son, who is in prison, and like the place where you'd think that you'd want your family or anybody to, you know, give you a bit of a friendly hello, doesn't want to see you. Poor guy. So this is when, Gemma, put your phone down, because blink and you'll miss this. We get Zidane's leaving scene.
I got to pay attention for that because he's my favourite character.
So, yes, on Friday's episode, he decided...
I thought he'd gone.
Well, no, Friday's episode, Alya managed to get Mariam, who couldn't be bothered to show up for this episode, to say, oh, Zidane,
let's get back together.
No hard feelings about you kind of letting my dad die. Let's go back to London and live together.
I can always get another dad.
Yeah, exactly. And then Zidane's like, oh, sorry, my dad's dead, so we're both dadless now.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says he's there, he's getting ready to go, and it was a really, really sweet scene for it being a Nazir scene. Well, you know, Alya and Zidane, who I don't care too much for. I thought it was really, really nicely done, and he tells her that she's the strongest person he knows. He can't be bothered to hang around for all the drama that she's going to go through the rest of the week and everything,
you'll be
because
fine,
she
sister.
can do it herself.
Bye-bye.
And then an unexpectedly like really sweet little hug and some kisses from Yasmin. She like kind of grabbed hold of him and was like. And I just thought it was lovely.
It was sweet. It was
really,
touching.
really nice. And what made it even more so was Alya there. Kind of, got her back turned to Zidane, and she's like blubbering away, isn't she? And I think it was the beginning of that made me go, Alya, I'm going to give you a chance this week. Actually, and I'm glad I did.
I can't fathom the reason that Zidane came back, and I'm trying to remember what he's done.
He came back couple of years ago for the money laundering storyline because they couldn't possibly do it without him, apparently.
Well, yeah, Alya's. If I was Alya, I'd be mad because she could launder money by herself.
Yeah.
She doesn't need him.
I don't know what's happened there because he did that story. He disappeared off for a lot of 2022, came back at Christmas even though nobody had really realised that he'd gone. And then
every good Muslim boy comes home for Christmas.
and now he's decided he's gone again. But as we talked about on the podcast, Kazim Akhtar, who plays him, is going through a bit of a change in his life and his beliefs and faith and everything at the moment. So maybe he decided to leave. I don't know. So it's kind of interesting. But anyway, off you go, Zidane, and he's posting a lot on his Instagram at the moment.
Wasted opportunity.
A little bit. I mean, when he left before, I was.
You can only be mad. You know what I mean? Like for a character who's incredibly minor and really not that well liked, he doesn't need to have this many exits.
No, I was just going to say that when he left the last time, I was definitely on Team Zidane because I thought they really did a number on his character for the sake of the Kana storyline, and I thought when they brought him back, it would be a chance for him to like,
that's why I'm disappointed.
But he was just kind of miserable, wasn't he?
Really got off the ground. I mean, you know, and don't get me wrong, you do need characters like that, but he didn't serve a purpose with his misery. He just was killjoy in every scene.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm frustrated because I think the actor deserved a bit more of a.
It's a bit and not at all to the same extent like with Scylla when they brought her back in her last stint.
What, the chinchilla?
No, not the chinchilla, the person, the human being.
Oh.
And she had a bit of a personality change, hadn't she? When Wendy Peters came to whisk Jenny McAlpine away.
What's this for?
And it's like, so now my lasting impression of this character is from
just miserable.
This little return, and it's a little bit miserable. And, maybe there's chance for both of them to come back.
Maybe they'll come back together. No. Maybe they'll become a couple.
Ooh, twist. Okay, so Zidane is gone. He's gone in his taxi. Ta-ra.
I think he's gone forever.
He may well have done. So back in the Rovers, Jenny's refusing to serve David now. He heads off, goes to Victoria Gardens. Bit worse for wear. Spotted by Maria. Good old friend Maria. Good old reliable, almost sister-like Maria. So Gary's there with her, and Gary is just a massive arse for most of the week, isn't he? Like, he's still finding it very difficult to separate what Max has done and David as a father and everything, and he's like, I don't care about Gary. I mean, I suppose Gary and David have got quite a long-rooted history of antagonism between them, haven't they, ever since the Windasses arrived on the street. But you can tell that this guy is really suffering here, and Gary's like, no, Maria, I don't go and speak to him. But she does, and Maria's like, look, Max is just a kid, David's my mate, I'm going to go and see him. So Gary comes over and he tells David that Maria still has nightmares about the stabbing and everything, and it's all Max's fault, no sympathy, bog off. So they're left there. Come back to them later. Meanwhile, we've got Alya who goes to work. We actually see a little bit of Alya in the lawyer's office this week. We're not just pretending that she works there. And Adam and Dee Dee jump up because they're discussing this stabbing case. You remember last week they were talking to somebody who's got a bit stabby, and they were trying to hide it from Alya. And this was could have been the turning point again, where I was like, no, Alya, I've just remembered why I don't like you, because she was kind of a little bit annoying here, because Alya at first is like, oh, hello, client, would you like a cup of tea, blah, blah, blah.
And then, no, she says, would you like a cup of tea? Honestly, these two, what a pair of donkeys. It's like, sorry, I'm your boss. Get out.
Did she say that?
Well, she didn't say donkeys, but she's like, these two, honestly, I can't believe they haven't offered you a cup of tea. Like, sorry, Alya, we're lawyers.
To be fair, Dee Dee, I'm still not convinced.
If Dee Dee made you a cup of tea, she'd come away with 3rd-degree burns.
She was, I left the tea bag in, sorry.
Oh, I put my hand in the kettle.
That's how they have them in LA,
Oh, yeah, we don't drink tea over there.
Anyway, so Adam's like, better get Mr. Stabby into my office before Alya finds out that we defend people that have done naughty things with knives.
Yeah.
And Alya sees the case file, because we know that they do like at Barlow's Legal Services for them to just be leaving paperwork all around the place.
She shouldn't. First of all, you don't. What's the word?
Read.
No, you don't read anything ever. No, you don't put your bosses down in front of a client. Secondly, you don't read confidential casework unless
you're
you
just
are directed to. It's none of your business. There's going to be loads of confidential papers lying around that office at all times. You need to keep your eyeballs in your sockets and not on the end of your fingers.
So anyway, she reads this case file and finds out what he's been getting up to.
I want to know. It didn't take her very long to realise what this case was. So I wonder if it's just called the stabbing case.
Yeah.
What? Stabbing case?
So
after I was stabbed?
I was stabbed, how dare you?
I'm going to write a victim personal statement.
This is the problem with her being a victim for the whole of her life. I mean, pretty much everything she's had against her.
What? I can't believe you've got a client who's a man who blew up somebody in a car.
Can't defend stabbings, can't defend bombers, can't defend...
Racists.
You know, what happened to Luke? He got shot by feelings.
I just said that. Got blowed up in a car.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's what you were referring.
You're defending a serial killer. I hate them.
Also, her dad was burnt in a fire, so no defending arsonists.
Can't believe it.
Yeah, no defending magicians that do coercive control.
No abusers. No. And
now Barlow's are out of business.
And they can't even defend white collar crime because she kind of did that herself.
Yeah, very true. So anyways, this is her particularly most recent crime that she's
I've done or been a victim of all of the crimes.
How can you? Is this a joke? He stabbed somebody. You were going to defend him after everything I've been through. And then she goes a little bit cuckoo and locks herself into the office with this guy. Action cams there going, oh my gosh, what's Alya going to do? And she's just like, she goes insane at him, doesn't she? And like, oh, do you know what it's like being stabbed? And
it hurts.
And she was giving a good performance.
She was really great, yeah, but it was I
was just there thinking, Alya, this is the sort of thing that
it's very unprofessional.
This is the sort of thing that maybe gets you let go from your jobs and maybe makes people think that you're a little bit annoying. Well, it
feels like a 3 strikes and you're out sort of a thing, you know? First of all, you rude to me. Second of all, you read the paperwork. And thirdly, you lock somebody in a room, which is also a crime.
Yeah, 3 stabs and you're out. There's 4, I suppose, there, isn't it? Alya finds the spare key.
No, she doesn't.
Adam finds the spare key, opens up the door, and the man's like, bloody hell, I'm out of here. And so Alya is like, well, you know...
Well, I was just cross.
You learn a lesson from that, actually.
Adam it's
and
your
Dee Dee.
Fault.
So Maria and David, back to them over the road, having a friendly chat together on the bench. Gary's bogged off like he said he would. And it's really, really lovely. And we've criticised many a time Coronation Street for not having, like, friend scenes or, like, just recognition that people
know each
other and have a non-romantic relationship, and like there are platonic relationships that go on here. So it was really lovely.
David was confused there, though.
He was. He was like,
He's like, I thought we
hang on a minute, a boy and a girl having a scene together. I think we need to get. No, I was just going to say as well, because there was a scene towards the end of the episode. Tonight, wasn't there, which had Toya and Maria and Alya around the booth in the Rovers, and not much came of it, but I thought that was quite nice as well. Because,
you're right.
Yeah, Toya and Maria used to be friends until
she shagged a bloke.
You know, John Harnley. Anyway, so they're there, and David's opens up about Max being in prison and beaten up and slashed in the face and everything. And Maria puts her arm around him and says, look, it's going to be okay, mate. You're a good man, David. You've been a great dad to Max. Everything's going to be all right. And David's like, oh, girl paying me compliment.
Oh, sexy lady.
Must suck face. And she's like, what the hell? So David leans in there for a kiss, and me and you looked at each other during that. I had no idea that this was going to happen this week. It was like, nope. If you're going to have any characters, if you're going to ban any characters from kissing, David and Maria are it. I'm not having that. Fortunately, though, Maria's like, what are you doing? But I'm going to say, it was really refreshing how she didn't go off the wall. You know, when on Coronation Street and
she
in real life.
She left that to Shona.
Yeah, she did. When somebody gives an unexpected kiss, they're like, how dare you, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, I'm going to go and tell everyone. And David's like apologising, and she's like, you blokes, you think that's just the answer to everything. If in doubt, have a pop, usually at me. so just a way of saying, well, I can't help just being so irresistible, you know. And David's just like, oh, Maria, can we just forget it ever happened? Oh, I just miss Shona. And Maria's like, go home, stick your head under the cold shower. For heaven's sake, what's Gary going to say if he finds out about this? Sure, that's not going to happen. So Adam reminds Alya back over the road at the lawyer's office what their job as lawyers are.
For goodness sake,
when
Alya.
people do naughty things,
yeah,
we're the people that try to get them off. Or maybe
not
get
like
them a
that,
reduced
though.
sentence. Not like that. And if you can't handle this, Alya, you know, maybe this isn't the career for you. Yeah, and Alya's like, sorry, it's not going to happen again. Got it out of the system now.
Sorry, I forgot. Oh, damn it.
Yeah. I can handle this.
I thought this
Absolutely.
office was where criminals come to be harangued by me personally.
She'd be great at that, wouldn't she?
Yeah.
She's like a one-woman picket line or something.
Do you know what?
One-woman protest.
She'd be great at podcasting. Can you imagine her ranting along with us?
Yeah.
Oh, she'd be great.
I think we'd lose listeners.
She's very judgmental, just like me.
Back at Speed Dial, Alya goes over there and she's starting to have doubts, she says, about whether she should be working at the lawyers, because remember, we still haven't actually seen her do anything.
She hasn't done anything
of note since she's been working there all this time.
All she's done is offer to make a cup of tea for somebody that she then tries to kidnap.
Kidnap a cup of tea.
No, the person.
I know. David comes in and says and tells Alya about Max being beaten up, and he tries to get a bit of pity from her, doesn't he? And she's like, "No, are you telling me that Max got slashed or whatever, and you want me to feel sorry for him? No way, not after what he did for me." And Max says, "Well,
no, David does."
David says, "Look, could you go and see him maybe, because he doesn't want to go and see me." You know,
no.
You're a pillar of the community. Your family used to run the community centre and everything. Maybe if Max felt part of the community, he'd maybe come out of his shell a little bit.
No.
And Alya says, "What the? You want me to go and see the guy that stabbed me just to make you feel better? To make him feel better? No way. No, we tried to tell Max before it got to this stage what he was getting into, and he didn't listen. Tough titties, mate.
Tough titties to you.
Absolutely right, Alya.
Yeah, she's right here.
And I do like Max, but he doesn't deserve anything from her, apart from, well, what he actually got on Wednesday's episode. So then David starts unloading his woes onto Yasmin, and who should come down the stairs then but Shona.
It's me, Shona.
I'm back.
Everyone
6 weeks. Told you.
Shona.
Told you.
She's like,
shortest
what the bloody
leave ever.
hell is going on here?
No, she doesn't look happy because... no, she hasn't been told yet, does she? Why did she? I kind of missed a little bit about why she's back. Did somebody contact her?
Because Lily's done her football and she knows all the football moves.
No, I think somebody said something about someone texting something.
She can do the kicking with the right and the left.
Anyway, she's back. She's back.
She can do short kick, long kick, middle kick,
lob, volley, pass, keepy uppy,
punt it.
Left foot, right foot, bend it like Beckham.
Yeah.
Score a goal, score an own goal.
Yeah.
Toss a coin.
Go home.
Go to the pub and
have a beer.
Have a pint, and then a bath with all your teammates. She can do it all.
She can do it all. She's
that's all I know about football. That's all the things the footballs do.
Football and men.
Football. We need James on the podcast. He'd sort us out.
He'd explain all the other things that we've missed out.
I'm sure.
Like do a press conference.
Let's do one or two. So anyway, Shona's back. Come on.
Be in a calendar.
I'd like to say that I was surprised by Shona coming back, but that would be a massive lie because I did spend some time at the weekend writing a character profile about Shona because I knew she was coming back this week and I'd seen that she started filming again in January. But still very, very lovely to see her. Anyway, so Alya, I've lost where I am. She goes to the bistro later on. See Ryan. Stop saying my lines for me.
She cries.
Stop it.
Shona wishes David.
Do you want to take over?
No.
Good, because it's my story. I'm invigorated by this.
You do seem to be.
Well, we get to see Alya and Ryan have a. No, you can't. You can't.
What?
Maybe
Can
have a little.
Get a drink?
No, maybe after this.
Can you carry on talking?
No, I can't. I don't like it when you go away because I feel like like
Okay,
I'm cycling on a unicycle over the Niagara Falls, and any moment I could just plunge to my death.
You won't.
So you got to stay in here.
Go on, then,
you be
Alya
my little
goes,
balancing stick.
You won't let me talk, and you won't let me leave. I'm being held hostage here by a podcast. I didn't even agree to do this.
We did have a conversation before we started recording. We were this close to recording on Saturday.
It's too hard
because
today.
You're like, oh my gosh, I haven't got the energy for this.
My soul is tinged with despair today.
I know. Anyway, Kat's come in. She's just come outside. Hello.
No, can we get on with it? My God.
So, yes, I've just lost where I am in the notes.
Alya
I'm just trying to kill time.
See Ryan.
She goes
and
to
then
see
she
Ryan.
cries.
She has a bit of a wobbly lip, doesn't she? Because she's, Ryan, everything's going wrong.
I nearly swore then. This is an absolute shambles, this podcast. We should just cut our losses.
No, it's...
Shona wishes David had told her how bad things had got.
Yes, Shona wishes David had told her how bad things had got for him. But he didn't, because he didn't want her to. He didn't want her to bring Lily back or something.
You're not allowed to contact people for
Ryan.
work things.
Ryan says to Alya, "Do you remember? Are you keeping up, everyone?" Ryan says to Alya, "You should definitely write your victim personal statement."
Personal victim.
No,
statement.
victim personal. I was right. Victim personal statement. Maybe it's gonna feel good to get it off your chest and anything. And she's like, talking about my chest, fancy having it a go later. And she's things are starting to get back together again with them. Over at Gary and Maria's flat later, Gary's telling her that the Platt family are like her Achilles heel, like David's her weakness. Just, look what his family had done, but still you forgive him for everything. And Maria says, he's just like a little brother to me, apart from the time that he snogs me. And Gary's like, what?
Yeah.
And we don't see the very moment where she says it. I don't think she just said, "Oh yeah, David did something a bit silly earlier." And then the next thing we see of this is Gary kind of pegging it through the streets, isn't he, across the cobbles, going, "Oh, David, where's David? You seen where David is? Anybody know where David is? You tried his house? Great idea, thank you very much. Bang, 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 bang. David, you get out of there. What are you doing?" And he's not there. Over to the pub. There's David. Shona's there telling David about Lily's footballing prowess and stuff, and Gary then bursts in and is like, "You bloody kiss my missus, what the hell are you doing?" And Shona's like, "What? You tried to kiss Maria, you scumbag?" And David's just there squirming. Shona storms off, and Gary, he just kind of leaves him alone. I think he realises he's later on this evening going to be facing the wrath of Shona, so there's only so much that Gary could do that could top that, really. So he leaves him. And Alya and Ryan, back to them, are at number 6 later, having a friendly cup of tea, which turns into a friendly hug and a snog. Alya and Ryan, after, a year and a half? Separated, back together.
Back together again.
Hurrah. So anyway, David gets home at the end of the episode, finds Shona repacking her bags. She's leaving him, and she storms out.
Oh no.
And then loads of people went on the internet and said, "What's going on with Julia Goulden's maternity leave? Is this her going on her maternity leave? Did they film these scenes earlier? Surely she's not back off her maternity leave yet, is she? Is this the reason that they're going to give for her to be going off for a little bit longer?" Nope, she's back. She is back.
She's back.
As far as I guess, anyway. I mean, she must be back. She's back. Brilliant.
Yes,
she's back.
Yes.
Right. Do you want to do Wednesday? Or do you want me to do Wednesday?
You just asking me because I'm looking at the iPad, and the only reason I'm looking at the iPad was to find out who it was that emailed us about what has happened here between Alya and Ryan. It's Tasnia who emailed us previously, and she said she didn't, as a Muslim, she thought that Coronation Street had forgotten what it was about the Nazirs that made them a diverse family on Coronation Street, and pointing out that Alya, as a Muslim, didn't engage in sex before marriage.
She didn't, but then she had a taste of Jason Grimshaw.
She's definitely done it again, hasn't she?
She has.
But, there's definitely people of every faith who will do certain rules and not other rules. So, I kind of do think it would be nice if they addressed it. Yeah. If they addressed it.
I mean, I suppose it doesn't make any sense, because if they were at it, before, and if she suddenly turned around and said, "What? No, I'm Muslim. I just want to hold hands with you." And you'd be like, "What?" But
I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out that, she. I don't.
No, I get what you mean. It's fine. Right, let's go on to Wednesday's episode, otherwise it's going to go on forever.
I just think that in soaps, whenever there's a character who says, "I don't want to have sex before marriage," it's like the soap goes, nice challenge for me. Let's see how I can get your pants off before the end of the year.
Yeah, well, it is, isn't it? Every character. I'm sure there are some exceptions. Well, I'm not sure. There may be, but there have been the odd character over the year who said, "I'm not gonna have.
I'm not going to sully my body with your filthy penis."
Tyrone, believe it or not, he was chased for the beginning, but then Maria comes along again, and it's Maria. She's just the temptress, isn't she? Honestly,
yeah, it's her fault.
Yeah. Anyway,
so you're blaming Maria for Alya having sex with Ryan.
There's something about Maria. That's all I can say.
You have to be just in her vicinity, and suddenly she's an aphrodisiac. That's probably what.
You're lucky,
wrong with
Gemma,
Justin.
because I was in Samia Longchambon's vicinity last summer.
She is very
If you hadn't
attractive.
been there to allure me back the other way, I don't know what I'd have done.
There we go.
Anyway, Wednesday. Gonna get there at last.
We will.
David breaks the news to Gail at the beginning of the episode what's happened, and Gail says, "Look, whatever you've done, you need to sort it." And I can't remember what it was, but there was. So this episode started with Gail having this scene with David, and then there was also a Daniel and Daisy and Steve scene over at number 1, and Steve was like bizarrely serious and a bit concerned about what was going on, and I said to you, did we just see like 2 scenes in a row with not buffoon Gail and not buffoon Steve?
About?
Just this one with Gail at the beginning of the episode when she's talking to David and says,
"You haven't
look,
even mentioned that Steve was there."
No, he wasn't there. You're not listening to what I'm saying. There was this scene with David and Gail. Gail didn't have a screw loose, and then there was another scene with Daniel and Daisy and Steve, and Steve was very sensible. And I was saying that they
I heard that bit. Okay. I just think whenever that happens, it's because the scene was written for another character, and then they weren't there. Because we know that's happened before.
That has happened before.
So that's probably why. It was probably Ken.
Yeah, could be.
I'm sure it was. I bet you if you go back and watch it and think of Ken, I bet you it would appear. Carry on.
Spider and Toya, they're back. They're talking to Maria and Gary about the investigation because Spider's still trying to find out who funded the racists. Now, we've known for quite a long time that it is Honourable Councillor Cameron. And this, I guess, was the tying up loose ends of the extremism storyline bit of it that kind of had to be done, but they didn't really need to put mega effort into it, apart from the brilliant scene with Griff and Spider in the prison. But yeah, like you said earlier today, the arresting Councillor Cameron bit was just a bit. Anyway, Maria also is mentioning at that point that Len is offering to help fund the refugee centre. Weird, but I'll take all the help I can get with that. So are we kind of supposed to be believing here that Councillor Cameron feels like the walls are closing in on him? And he doesn't want, he thinks if I'm giving whatever it was, £7,000, £70,000 to the community centre, surely nobody would expect me of funding these racists that are being arrested left, right and centre.
I don't know what his thought process was.
I'm guessing it's that. It doesn't matter anyway. So over at prison school, Daniel is doing a lesson about depressing literature, his favourite thing. All about death and sadness and misery and melancholy.
They should do
getting children to read poems and
like
stuff.
Wallace and Gromit.
Well, maybe they do a little bit of that as well.
Creature Comforts, that's good.
That's not a poem though, is it?
But you can make a poem out of it. Everyone write a poem about your favourite Creature Comfort sketch.
I like the tortoise.
Yeah, good. Write about that then. Yeah. I'm going to have a snooze.
Max walks in.
You carry on, kids.
For some reason, and I can't remember, I didn't write down, but I don't think it particularly matters because it just needed to work out this way. His classes have changed, and now he's going to be in Daniel's class. All a little bit awkward, but he's also there, Max. Like, he's got just bloods and bruises and scratches and cuts all over his face, hasn't he? And Daniel's like, whoa, what's happened to you there? I'm going to be a sensible mentor to this guy. So, back to Alya and Ryan. Yep, looks like he stayed the night at number 6. Yasmin's basically saying, "Get in there, my son," to him. And Alya is just being very enigmatic about the whole affair. Max, back to the prison, has some clever insight about the poem that they're reading, and Daniel's very pleased with him.
That's right, it is a metaphor. Well done.
Yeah, good job. Bit of personification in there. A bit of assonance.
A bit of, what's that, pathetic fallacy. I love that bit of that.
Love it, yeah.
Fantastic.
So Shona and Maria are having a talk in the street later. This was a nice scene. This is kind of, this was Maria saying, I'm not backing, another one of these, I'm not backing down. People are always... having a go at me. People are saying that I'm a woman. I'm not going to be able to do this. If I'm backing down, I'll be giving my critics everything what I want. And Shona's like, yeah, you go. Yeah, there you go. Whatever. And Maria also tells Shona, you shouldn't really be splitting up with David over this. And Shona's like, don't worry, it's just for a cliffhanger. We'll be back together by the end of the week.
Maria's like, you don't need to split up with David. I'm not going to steal your man. And Shona's like, I wasn't worried about that, actually.
Daniel goes to see Alya later on his lunch break or something and says, look, you really probably should go and speak to Max. He's not a bad person. He just did bad things.
Yeah, to me.
The sin, not the sinner.
Not to you, Daniel, you turd.
Alya, you're a good
Daniel
person.
is such a sanctimonious arsehole. He goes around.
Sound like him.
He goes around and he's just like, listen, I know how to do your life better than you do. Well, Daniel, if you're that good at it, why are you living in a tiny flat teaching kids in a prison because you couldn't hack being an actual teacher?
I'm sure prison teachers are very
Yeah,
hardworking.
but he couldn't hack being. He's failed everything he's ever tried, but that doesn't stop him from giving advice, giving people advice about their own unsolicited advice as well. Nobody's asking Daniel for advice about anything, but he will not shut up telling everyone. And it's always women as well. It's always women. He's like, yeah, did you know?
It is.
Listen, you idiot. Why don't you do this? No, Daniel.
Gemma, he's read a lot of books, that's all I'm saying. He's read a lot of books, he's read a lot of poems.
You should look in a mirror.
He's very wise.
Look in a mirror, Daniel. You waste of space.
He's great, he's just like
I know,
Ken.
I do love how you got to have somebody
he's
like
so
this.
sanctimonious.
He just doesn't even realise how much of an idiot he is.
But I love him for I'm not sick of Daniel. I could watch Daniel till the cows come home, honestly. But the way that he does that is just
and I'm not criticising him for being a teacher in a prison. I'm just saying that if you are a teacher in a prison, it should be your calling and it should be something that you decide that you want to do because you feel passionate that you can help people in that situation. Not go, can't be doing with this, I'll just get a job in a prison. Do you know, that's what's happened to him. Yeah. He's like, I probably should get some money for this wedding. I know what I'll do. Stupid bum.
You done?
Yeah.
You done? Okay. So Alya is having just been confronted with the instruction from Daniel to go and see Max. It's like, no, will people stop asking me to go and see Max in prison, please?
Don't reason with him. Kick him in the balls.
Look, I got stabbed just a few weeks ago.
Everyone
do you
knows
remember? It was Max's fault. I'm not going to go and see him just so he can feel better about this. Yeah. Sorry, no.
Yeah.
The things kind of cool off a little bit when Ryan comes downstairs and Daniel goes off. And Alya admits to Ryan, I am at the end, and I'm at the egg of my tether at the moment. Ryan, not feeling okay.
I can't be bothered
and
with this,
Ryan's like, I can't believe that Daniel would ask you to go and do this. What I get. And then they kind of quickly turn the conversation back to last night. How great it was. Ryan says, he gets totally I can't remember what the word is. Because nobody's ever done this for me. No, when he's saying, Alya, I like you and I miss you, and, I assume you don't want to get back with me and everything. And he's kind of saying it in a way so that she'll go, no, actually, Ryan, I do. But she's actually like, yeah, I don't want to get back with you.
Oh, I don't know what you mean. I don't know what word that is.
I know. Anyway, she's like, yeah, I don't want to get back with you.
Anyway, I'm not talking about that. I want to talk about Max.
Anyway, yeah, back to Max again. Ryan says, look, maybe... Now I've had to think about it.
She's like,
Max,
well, now I'm not going to get a shag at you. Maybe I'll tell you the truth. You should go and see.
He got one. He's just not going to get a second.
Another one, yeah. Go and see Max.
Go and see Max. Look it in the eyes. It might bring some closure. You know what? He's wise, that Ryan.
I hate
That's
the
what
way.
Everyone says, isn't it?
No, I just hate
Very
this.
clever man.
Everyone's like, all these men are going, hey, Alya, go and see the man who victimised you. And it turns out they were right.
Yeah, that's true. They just needed to give her some, a little bit of sin.
They should have pitched it
to
properly.
Light that fire.
They should have pitched it properly. Go, look, do you want a really cool dramatic scene that will get you and you can put this in your show reel? She's like, yeah, okay, I will go then. Because I want some more dramatic scenes where I get angry and face up to horrible people.
Shona comes back to number 8 later. They all have a bit of a family hug, but it becomes very clear soon that she has absolutely not forgiven David. Because this was the other thing that came out of the scene with her and Maria. Maria's like saying, look, you should get back with David, to be honest, but make life hell for him for a little bit first. And Shona's like, oh, I can do that. She is not pitting up with being cheated on, she says. And she said, if you do this ever again... I can't remember. David tries to say something. I can't remember what the line was, but he kind of realises that he's digging himself a bit of a hole. And he's like, I'm just going to park that there, will I? And then this is when Shona says, look, if you do this again, I'm going to be parking my fist in your face, which is a great line. You're sleeping on the sofa as well, by the way, mate. So Daniel goes to see David to say that Max has been moved into his English class. They've had a little chat, and he says,
and he's really good at poems.
Been trying to talk to Alya. No dice there, I'm afraid. And David thanks him for letting him know, but says, look, can you just tell Max that I miss him? Very sweet. What was that sigh for? What? This is brilliant stuff. What? You can have a cup of tea in a bit. We'll stop after this storyline for a little tea break, I promise. Nick and Leanne's flat.
I think I've gone mad. I'm sorry. I know that I'm being crazy today.
No, you're fine. Nick and Leanne's flat. Toya can see that Spider's being a bit distracted by this case, and she's like, let's go to the pictures or something. Let's go and see a film. And they agree that they're going to go and see something. But then Spider's phone rings, a Spider phone, and he's like,
what's that, Commissioner Gordon?
Yeah.
That's the Spider-Man thing, isn't it?
Not quite. Almost. It becomes apparent that
What's
they will
the name
not...
of the editor?
I don't know. They're not going to go to the pictures tonight because he's got police jobs to go to.
I've got to do paperwork.
Spider says, I've got to go and do some paperwork. Wink, wink. And so he goes off. So this is when we get brilliant scene, which has got Alya visiting Max in prison, and they're just cutting back and forth between that and Spider talking to Griff in prison. And this was one of those Coronation Street moments where put the laptop down, just watch it, enjoy it.
This was phenomenal. This was fantastic.
So well done. I've barely written anything in my notes here, and I need to watch it again, really, because I'd like to be able to sort of say back some of the dialogue and everything that was said. But it was basically just Alya going to see Max and telling him, but just not forgiving him, was she?
You got what coming to you, and I don't feel bad about being punished.
When he agreed to see her, he was probably expecting her to say, I forgive you, I can see you're sorry, or something to make him feel better.
He needs, I think, he doesn't need anyone to say to him, I can understand how you got to where you got to, because even if that is true, it's still going to feed into his hatred. He just really needs a dressing down. Yeah.
Well, if we do the bits there with Alya and Max first, because she's saying, you were clearly trying to whip up all your followers to hate people like me.
Yep.
I've been victimised for things like this all my life, and he says. No,
he's just trying to justify himself, going, I was just trying to show people that, it's not fair, and people aren't
he says people like me, we don't follow the crowd, and she's like, people like you, what do you mean? You don't even know what you believe. What do you believe, Max? Who are you? And at this moment he's like, he kind of crumbles and stumbles, doesn't he? He doesn't know, and she's like, exactly. You need Griff to tell you what to think, and he's not here. Without him, you're just a pathetic, stupid little boy.
I think the thing here is that Max does know what he thinks, but now he's suddenly realising that maybe he's not as convinced as he was before, and maybe there are different sorts of people. They might all have the same skin colour, but they don't all act the same. Because Alya has never done any of the things he's accusing all people with her skin tone of doing.
No.
And also, more importantly than that, he can sit on a computer and write it, but when somebody's sitting in front of him going, go on then, say it to my face, he's like, I don't know what I think. I don't know. Of course he knows what he thinks, but he's not going to say it to her face.
He's in a very vulnerable position at the moment. He's not... She's holding all the cards at the moment. He's just been beaten up earlier this week. He's in prison.
Well, go on. So what else has he got to say for himself?
Well, he's trying to say, look, it wasn't my fault. My life was a mess. He's got all these excuses, and some of them, are true. Nothing. There's no excuse for what he did. But I think the storyliners of Coronation Street did a pretty decent job of making Max's life out to be a little bit rubbish and giving him a reason for doing this. But to hear it out loud, it's still like, no, that's sorry, that is pathetic, Max. And Alya says that to him. You were groomed. What the heck? No, you didn't have to listen to Griff's sweet talk. I've spent my whole life seeing people like you and him making people like me the scapegoats for every insignificant little thing that's happened in their insignificant lives, and I don't care. I'm not here to help you out on some journey of self-discovery. It turns out I did write quite a lot of this scene down, actually. You've said your family never listened to you, but actually I think they did. And you just didn't like the answers that they gave. So maybe that's where you need to start looking. She leaves. Just turns around, and he's just there, like, completely shell-shocked by this barrage of truth bombs that she was laying on him.
She's like, pew, 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 take
and
that.
Then he's like, Alya, I'm sorry, and it's too late.
She's gone. She's gone.
Oh gosh,
only the scent of her beautiful hair.
Paddy Beaver, I thought he was so good in this, and
they were both fantastic. Sarah was
so
just
good.
Searingly, blisteringly furious with him. And
is this everything that the past however many years of Alya being a victim has led up to? Because I was all for it. This is superb.
Well, yeah, I mean, and Sarah knows she's representing people who have had this done to them, and harnessing all the rage that you feel inevitably from being put in this position, and being victimized because of who you are and where you come from. And she comes, like she said before, she comes from here. What are you saying? She's from here, and that's why I liked her victim personal statement when she says, I know, I hate every time I say it, I hate it.
Statement.
She says, I've put more into my community than they ever have.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's not strictly true, because his community is the white supremacist community, and he's influenced many people in that community. He's actually got quite a good standing in that group.
All through this, though, even though I knew that Max, what she was saying was true, I was thinking he was groomed, though.
Yeah, but he needed this. This is a wake-up call. There's certainly something to be said for understanding and sympathising with him. But is it actually going to do any good for everyone to sit around in a little cry circle and hold his hand and go, yes, you were wronged when you were little. Oh, your mummy died. It's terrible.
I know. I'm not saying he didn't deserve this.
He needs a slap round the face and to be told, grow up, pull your socks up. The world doesn't care. The world doesn't care about all the horrible things that have happened to you. Just stop doing it to other people.
The thing is, sometimes if people are going to say this to you, for some people, getting what Max got there is just going to make him even more, entrenched in his beliefs that this is the enemy. But I think Max does have some good in his heart.
Yeah, but this is the first time he's actually been confronted. By somebody from that community that he's attacking, and said to him, grow up, you pathetic little monster, and stop blaming everybody else.
Yeah. I mean,
it's kind of empowering, because she's saying to him, you are the one that has the power here. Stop trying to blame everybody else. You empowered yourself to do this. You took action. Maybe if you took action in a more positive manner, you'd achieve something. But you've just wasted your, now you're in prison, you idiot.
He will come round and they'll redeem him. And they prevent... charity or scheme or whatever it is that do the training all about radicalisation or anti-radicalisation are all about trying to get people who have been groomed and radicalised by extremists of various types and turning them round and helping them see that what's wrong and not giving up on them and re-educating them.
That's the best way.
This will happen to Max, but he needed this, I think.
Yeah, but it's also it's one of these things. It's not down to Alya to do. It's not her job.
I mean, she also. if you think about, he is only 16. She's, I don't know, she is twice his age or something.
What? 32?
I don't know. I'm just trying to imagine that
she's
I'm
like 26
a bit closer to Alya's age. Yeah, so I mean, it's hard, for a kid to have an adult kind of lay into you like this.
I don't think she's significantly. She's 20. Oh, she's 35.
There we go.
Excuse me, she's the new Sarah Louise. I thought she was 10 years younger than that.
No.
How old is Alya then?
I don't know, but there we go. Anyway, so that was the brilliant scene with Max and Alya. Yeah, well, there we go. Hopefully, if Sarah does hear any of this podcast, which I very much doubt,
someone can just play that bit.
Just play that bit. Don't play the bit that we say we usually find Alya a bit annoying.
It doesn't look.
This could be the turn of the corner moment. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so while this is going on,
I literally can't believe that.
All this is going on, Spider is visiting Griff, and this is the first time we've seen him for a good month and a half or so, and this was his final appearance. I don't know whether Michael's been on online to say that's it. I'm signing out. That's me done on Coronation Street. But yeah, he has gone now. But what a brilliant final scene for him to go out on, and the back and forth.
Of course, she's 30, isn't she? She's on her birthday the other day.
Oh yeah, of course.
What a pair of idiots.
We can't expect her to remember something that happened on Coronation Street last week. Come on,
too much time's passed since then.
Okay.
I'm an idiot, for goodness sake.
Lots of things happen in a week, and
I really thought that they
late at night.
Is Powell? Oh, right, so I'm just going to assume that Paddy Beaver's 48 in that case.
Probably. So yeah, while all this is going on, Spider's there with Griff, acting sort of cock of the walk, isn't he? And he's there. Even though he's in prison, he's got the information, Griff, that Spider wants, and he's there with his arms folded and everything, going, "Yeah, what are you gonna do?" Just
to be clear, these are like juxtapositioned.
Yeah.
And the camera work
was very, very good,
so that we had tight close-ups of everybody's faces, and that the
direction was fantastic in this.
Kind of coming up from above, so there was the pressure of gravity.
Yeah.
Was forcing them.
Yeah.
With the lens of the camera.
Even the beginning of this first scene with Griff, we see Griff talking, but we don't know who he's talking to. I mean, we assume very quickly who else would it be. But so the camera pulls back and we get to see it's Spider there listening, and it seems at first that they've arranged a deal. Griff says, "I'll tell you who our racist funder is if you get me a shorter sentence." And he's like gloating away. He's like, "I've got all the cards here. I've got exactly what you want." And foolish mistake, Gemma. He says it's Len. He admits it. He says,
"Oh no, what an idiot."
Councillor Cameron, he's the one. But you need proof, don't you? And that's the phone messages that I've got. And then we think that he's going to have to wait until Spider gets him the reduced sentence, and then he will give him the phone or tell him where the phone is or whatever. But before all that, he then gets to have his massive rant, does Griff, about Max and standing by what he did with him and saying, "Yeah, I did what I needed to do. I'm not grooming him. I'm turning him into free thinkers. I'm giving people like him hope. I'm helping them to see, what everyone's trying to hide from them." And Spider's like, "No, you're turning them into weapons." And Griff says, "You know what? Sometimes a weapon is the right tool for the job." He's clearly got no regrets over anything that he's done. And this is the moment when Spider chooses to reveal, "You know what? I found your phone in your flat. I've read all your messages saying thanks for the cash. And now you've just revealed who it is. Thanks very much, mate." So, nice one.
He smelt it, dealt it.
Yeah.
Bye,
so
bitch.
Griff is there left going, "Oh, I shouldn't have revealed my evil scheme." Foiled again. Curses. I would have got away with it if it wasn't for you pesky Spider. So Maria, back away from the prison, comes home to the flat. Little bit blown away by Len Cameron's offer. He wants her to give everything that they need for this refugee centre. I'm going to say clearly is trying to deflect any kind of guilt or any kind of criticism or accusations, that's the word, that are coming his way. And he says that seeing what has happened to Alya has made him change his mind, but not really sure about that, but she's going to bite his hand off anyway. Then we get a phone call between Max and David. And Max says, I've had Alya visiting me. I can't talk for long. I need to go for tea, but can you come and visit me tomorrow? Can you bring Shona and Lily? He's like, I'm feeling very lonely. Can people come and see me? And that was quite sweet. But when the phone gets put down, Shona's like, no, I'm not going. I'm not in the mood to play Happy Families, thank you very much. You just tried to snog Maria, blah, 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 blah. I'm sick of being taken for granted, actually. No way are you using Max to emotionally blackmail me. And then Lily comes downstairs and David's saying, we're going to go and visit Max. But Shona's like, no, I'm not going. So Alya goes to see Ryan later and says that I went to saw Max, like you said. Absolutely terrible, but I'm glad I did it. And then she invites him for a drink later, but there's something she needs to do first. And that thing is going back home to Yasmin to read her victim personal statement. And was this going for the BAFTA? Was this the Gale's speech looking out the window scene of 2023? I think they were going for something like that, because there was a jolly long scene of her reading out about...
Luckily, she didn't have to memorise it.
She didn't. It was all on a piece of paper. She again, really good performance when she was giving out. She's clearly struggling to get these words out. You know, her hands are shaking, the paper's flapping back and forth. She's fighting back the tears, and like you said, one of the lines towards the end of it is, "I'm not the outsider. He is. I've given more to my community than someone like he ever will." And it's all, you know, very, very triumphant towards the end, but obviously very exhausting to read out, and Yasmin gives her a big hug, so that was very nice. And then that's almost it for the episode. We have a little scene of Spider talking to Toya and saying, oh yeah, we're honing in, we're nearly going to catch the thunder, but I can't tell you who it is yet, Toya, I'm afraid.
Wait for Friday's
and also
episode.
We have David finding Alya in the pub and thanking her for speaking to Max, and she says, whatever I did, David, I did for me, not him. And then Jenny... Then there's this weird scene where Jenny gets David wound up for sticking a beacon about Shona, and she's like saying, oh, is Shona broken up with you or something? And David's like, bug off, Jenny, you interfering nag. I didn't really get what that was about. But never mind, it didn't detract from the overall greatness
of colour to
of Wednesday's episode with that scene. Friday. We're just going to go back and do Wednesday again. Is that okay for you,
Yeah,
Gemma?
I think we should redo.
No, Friday. So Shona is still refusing to go and see Max. But she's starting to break a little bit. She kind of looks at her phone at one point when David tries to ring her, and she's like, oh, maybe I will. Spider's still being very coy about who they're honing in on.
He's basically like, I know something you don't know. I know he was, wasn't he? And so I was like, oh, well, I guess it's I guess we shouldn't really worry about this kind of secret in a relationship, but I'm sure I can cope with it.
She hates it. She hates not knowing.
Just remember what happened to the last guy, Costa Spider.
I know. So Toya goes to see Alya later.
And that was over a secret.
It was. Toya goes to see Alya, who's worrying before Blake's trial and the victim personal statement that she's going to have to read out and everything. That's the heat pump of 2023,
Every time someone says victim personal statement, take a shot.
Drink, yeah. So she says, look, you don't have to go to do this, Alya. And Alya says,
so
no, Blake's
going
to hear this truth. She says, I'm going to go and see it, but I don't want them to film me with any cameras there, so...
Well, Toya's like, someone else can read it. Why don't you get Brian? He does a really good job last time.
Oh, yeah, good point.
I could do it, because I'm good. I'm
a very convincing
I'm
victim.
very emotive.
Yeah. So, then we have the scene with Len just very quickly wrapping up his time on the street, I guess. I don't know whether he's going to be in it next week, having the final boot stuck in, but he's there outside his speed dial, isn't he? With a big novelty check, because he's getting a load of publicity about, look how generous I'm being there.
Was it in the office when they were talking about how much it costs to buy a giant check, and it's like £100 or something?
No matter, he can afford it, he's loaded. And just as they're all posing for the cameras, this is when the police car turns out, and Toya's like, oh, things are getting exciting here. She's like, oh, there's my man coming out of a police car.
He's got a gun.
I'll save this
picture
in my head.
He's the well-artist man in the whole street.
Yeah, Spider gets out, and Cameron apparently gets arrested.
Not that we need to see that, because we're just plebs.
So Spider later on tells Maria that Len's computer has been investigated as well. Turns out, just to tie up a load of other storylines and dangling threads. He was the one that was doing all the trolling of you and stuff last year.
It was the most awkward.
Everything bad that happened to you, it's been Len Cameron.
We found it
no
on
more
his,
questions.
We found it on his internet.
Yeah.
It was really awkward because I thought this was poorly done. Because he says, oh, it looks like he was sending you threatening messages. Looks like he's behind quite a few of them. And we was like, oh, what specific messages? Because then I'll know. And he was like, oh, I don't really want to say because it's really bad. And then she's like, oh, I need to know. And he's like, oh, one of them was about you being strung up outside the town hall. And we was like, aha, I knew it. I knew it was him. But really, that mean, like, I wanted them to go a bit further. I wanted to be like really, get really personal with it and stuff like that. like loud-mouthed, bog-eyed, stupid, flappy-headed, hairdressing bitch. You know what I mean? It was like, it was pretty threatening, but it wasn't very imaginative, was it?
It wasn't, no.
But I think if they got too detailed, it would have come off a bit comedic, don't you think?
Well, I think that that's an image of Maria dangling outside the town. No, of course
it's not.
No. Anyway, so that's tied a bow and all of that, and it was all never going to be him either, was it? We said it was going to be the other councillor, but the actor couldn't come back for these last scenes.
I think so. He's been set up then, hasn't he? By
he's probably been set up as Len. Anyway.
Also, I literally can't believe that it was all Len. I think. There must have been loads of people, and the sad fact...
Maria must have annoyed more than one person.
I was one of them. No, I mean, the sad fact of it is that trolls generate other trolls, and the behaviour becomes like weirdly like a virus. And once somebody starts doing it, loads of people will jump in and join in. So I bet you loads of people didn't even know who Maria was from Adam, but they just like harassing women on the internet.
Maria and Adam are quite different characters.
I don't know the difference. I've got face blindness.
I've accidentally stabbed someone. Maria, can you defend me in court? Don't tell Alya. Okay, so...
Blake's got 12 years.
Blake's got 12 years as well, if anybody still cares about that.
I bet we're never going to find out what Len gets.
I don't know. We might do. It's almost like one of these things, because they like on Coronation Street to make it feel like it's ended on Friday and then they bring it back for a final end on Monday, like they did with Sedan. But that is a common thing that they do in Corrie. So maybe they will. You never know. But I don't really need to see it, because the whole who's funding the racists. I didn't really need to know. It was like it's like so unimportant.
I know.
Why can't they just be self-made millionaires?
If they didn't explain it, then we would be like, oh, how come we didn't know what they did?
I don't know. I don't think I would.
I know what that. Anyway, they used Martin Lewis, money saving expert, to get money on vouchers. Bomb? Yeah. Got the bomb with a voucher.
They clearly got a cheap bomb. Did you see the amount of damage it did?
Rubbish.
It was pathetic. Anyway, so Platt's are visiting Max later. So we got Lily, we got David, we got Shona, and Shona's like looking pretty hard faced, like I'm only here under duress.
Can I add that I love how much like Lily is a lovable dope, isn't she?
She just wants to know what food that they've got in the prison.
What kind of pizza have you got? And he's like, vegetable. What kind of vegetables?
I don't like vegetable. Footballers don't need vegetables.
No, I loved her. I loved, like, she's becoming one of my favourite characters. One of my favourite kiddie. Yeah, I love her. She's always happy. She's always happy, and she's like, she came out today. She's like, look at my outfit, I've got a special prison outfit.
What was that?
Like, oh, Lily, you're such a dope. I love you.
I'm warming to her slightly.
I think she's brilliant.
Give her a few years, we'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens with her.
And I think that Max is great with her. I think that Paddy is very good opposite her.
Well, there was sweet corn and peppers.
So anyway, that's it with that. I've just realised I put something in the wrong place.
Well, they have a hug, don't they?
Yes, they do. It's all lovely. Max and David have a hug, and it was a kind of a long, emotive, tufty man hug. It was a man hug they had together, but it felt like there was proper love coming out of that hug. They were like really gripping each other in that scene, and Max is like, "I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm really sorry.
Sorry, I was a racist."
How can you reject that?
Max tells them that he's trying to work on himself. Yeah. And he doesn't come out and say, like, It makes it sound like, to me, he's like, look, I've decided Alya's one of the good ones. You know what I mean? That's. He hasn't said I'm not a racist anymore.
No, I don't think he has. But
are we supposed to assume that he is?
I think it's maybe implied that. Maybe I don't know. Okay, so what else did we have? Then we had that scene with Toya and Alya and Maria in the Rovers. Nothing really happened there. And at the very end of the episode, David's been very maudlin on the sofa, saying, "Oh, I failed my son." And he did kind of. And he says, "Sorry, Shona, for all the drama at the start of the week." And she says, "Don't worry. When there's a secret, David. When people like me go off on maternity leave, they can't just come back. They've got to come back to drama." And it was just that. Yeah. I was just coming back with a bang. It's fine. No, she says, "Well, I'm sticking with you. We're a team." Hashtag Team Platt.
Team Platt.
Yeah. No, I just wanted, before the end of this storyline, to touch on a few other things that I guess are tangentially related to it, but I didn't think they were at the time.
It was funny to me that they said, Alya's got to write a victim personal statement, and she has to go because Darian doesn't want to go. But then we didn't see either of them go, so no, Darian could have gone.
And Darian was in the episode,
and he was in the
wasn't
episode.
He? That was weird. Yeah, because Darian's been up to
no good.
No, he's been fine.
Oh, okay.
Because there was a couple of scenes with Nina and Evelyn at the charity shop. We saw another precinct.
Gregory Pope.
We saw a precinct scene outside Gregory Pope Foundation, and there were children playing on the swings and everything.
Scene we saw in one of the shops.
Well, outside
one of the shops.
They were coming
because previously we've only had stuff in the precinct play area. But now we got to see Evelyn and Nina. It
felt a lot more bustling today, didn't it?
With
the only other scenes that we've had there, we had Summer and Ava, was first, and then we had Adam, Harry and Sarah. Both of those were just kind of sitting down scenes, but it felt like it was a lot more alive today, so that was really cool. And anyway, someone with only £10 comes along wanting a suit for an interview. And
this feels like a biblical story.
Evelyn says, "Well, you're not having it. This suit's £20. And Nina says, "No, it's fine. Look, I'll give you £10. I'll make up the rest myself." And he says, "Oh, thank you very much. I'll pay you back." And Evelyn's like, "Well, that's the last you've seen of that £10. But Mo, for that is his name.
You know what they say?
What?
Mo money, mo problems.
They do, don't they? Yes, they do. Mo comes back to the cafe later, gives Nina £10. He reckons the interview seemed to go well, but it wasn't for no job interview.
No.
It was an immigration office interview, and Darian's ears
I know all about that.
Immigration interview. Fellow refugee, hello, my good friend. Come and have a sip with me. I will read some leaflets for you. And what do you know? What are the chances of this? Mo only knows Darian's brother. They were at the same processing centre and everything.
Finally, we're getting somewhere with Darian's brother. I don't know what his name is still.
I can't remember whether they've said what his name is. But no, it was...
We're on the track, lads.
It's going to happen, isn't it? The reunion between... Darian and brother Darian, or something tragic is going to happen just before, but it felt like a little bit too much of a leap of credibility that they just so happened to bump into somebody who knows this guy's brother who has gone missing. And
as soon as I saw this scene, I went, I know what Twitter's going to think of this.
Oh yeah, you did a bit of a search, didn't you?
I was like, I know what I can write in to find out what people think. I wrote Corrie and I wrote woke. And no, I didn't get disappointed at all.
Lots of irate comments.
Lots of people going, "Oh, what is this, Immigration Street?"
Honestly, we both kind of gave each other a look when Mo comes into the cafe in Darian's house. We thought that it was going to turn out.
I wish it was.
I'd rather it was.
Like
I know that would have been a coincidence as well, but it just feels like it being somebody who knows his brother is just too much of a coincidence. That's now going to get dragged on. At least if he just so happened to walk into it, it would have been a coincidence that it'd be over and done with.
Christmas miracle.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's going on, and maybe something will happen there.
I need there to be some kind of happy ending to this story.
There will
because I was gunning. Everyone knows I was gunning for Darian to get shot. Or
don't say
stabbed.
you're gunning for Darian. That's what got Blake in the problem. Who influenced you, Gemma?
Griff. I was expecting or hoping for them to up the ante by killing one or the other of them. But now it feels as though we've put a sort of a full stop on that story. I want it to be a happy ending. and I want Darian and his
it's just,
brother
just
to
be a
ride
nice
off
little
into the
coda
distance.
of it, wouldn't it?
Happy together.
Yeah, I in a way I kind of like Darian to stay.
I do think
kind
he's
of like
sweet.
him. But they're not needed to give him much of a personality so far, because he's just the refugee that they need in this refugee story. But there's just, I think he could stay and be developed more, and maybe it's a case of, well, let's leave the door open for him if he's going to go away or something. Maybe he's going to go and, lead a better life and then come back and he's a rich businessman or something. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that would make sense.
Maybe. So yeah, like you said, I think this does feel like the end of this story, which has been going 3 months, 4 months now.
I really
5?
expected this to go on longer than it has done, but I know a lot of people would say that it went on too long.
It doesn't feel like it's been too long for me. I mean, if you take
it needs to be long, because you're watching somebody be radicalised. It doesn't happen overnight.
No, but I mean, it did happen a lot quicker, I think, than it actually would have done. But for dramatic license, they had to have Max just watch one video, and that's enough to convince him. But for an issue story, I think it's felt like it's had a decent amount of time. I mean, if you go right back from the beginning and you think, well, when did Spider come back? That was in a way the beginning of the story, and that was the beginning of July, wasn't it? And Griff coming in August. But I guess the real start of this storyline for me was the band with sinister lyrics, and it's just kind of gone from there. I think they've given it enough time. I think that the arc wasn't perfect. There were certainly bits where I was thinking, this isn't going the way I want it to be. Spider's story about his wife, what's going on there? No,
that was
doesn't
odd.
really work for me.
And I didn't
Max being radicalised so easily.
Yeah, he protested too much too all the way through. Spider's like, I don't like involving children.
Yeah, and then we had that whole thing with the bomb at the beginning of this year that was just massive misstep. But I honestly, if I look back on this story, and this was one where at the beginning I was like, I'm interested in this. It's got some characters that I like. This is something a bit brave for Coronation Street, a little bit different. I obviously haven't got the far right story from Hollyoaks or whatever to compare it to, but on the whole, I'm happy with this story, and I'm looking back and thinking, yeah, it wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed it. What about you?
Ditto.
Do you want to say anything about it?
I've said enough.
Ditto. Gemma agrees with me. Well, there we go. I'm just kind of looking down about the rest of our notes for this, but I think a lot of it we kind of covered. Do you kind of have the same sort of sympathy for Max as I'm still thinking? I think that he can be saved and should be.
Oh, I don't. I think it's incredibly sinister to say that there's anybody apart from extremely few and far between people who cannot be redeemed. I think it's a defeatist attitude to say. I
am in everyday life a bit of a forgiver, and I don't.
Oh, I'm not.
I know you're not.
But this is the
Gemma,
thing, okay?
Don't wrong Gemma.
I think I know that this is the incorrect attitude to have, and this is why I think that sometimes we need to acknowledge, I think this, but it's actually a good idea. It's a good thing that A, I'm not in charge, and B, other people don't agree with me who are in charge. Yeah? Most people shouldn't be on a jury or a judge, because people are can be quite vengeful, and I think that it's good that there are people who can be impartial, and
I'm too much of a pushover.
Not everybody
I will
has
just
to be.
forgive people.
Yeah, you shouldn't be on it either. But that's why we need to act as a team, isn't it? That's why society needs all kinds of different people, because sometimes you need somebody like me, and sometimes you need somebody like you.
Yeah.
And I think we just need to be patient with one another and listen to each other. Not necessarily agree, but understand that it's okay for us all to have different opinions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like
absolutely.
I'm self-aware enough to know that if everyone in the world was like me, we'd all be dead probably in 5 minutes flat.
You couldn't be a diplomat, could you?
I mean, I can be a nuclear scientist, so those would all blow up. I couldn't drive a train.
Yeah.
I can barely drive a car.
No, I yeah. So anyway, that's that. What did you think of Shona's reaction to the kiss and everything?
It felt like manufactured soap drama. I just ignored all that, honestly. I thought that whole thing was just a big, boring distraction from the rest of it.
I didn't find it boring because I love Shona. Did you think
Shona.
Did you think there was any possibility that this could be like a short or long-term or permanent, dare I say?
No, I just watched this going, well, now they've kissed and Shona has to act like that, but I know she doesn't really want to, but she's being made to do it because, like, really, I kind of get the impression that it's a 50-50 on Shona's reaction here, because I think if you caught her on the right day, she'd go, you tried to kiss Maria, as if she'd go with you. You're
right, actually.
I think she would have thought it was funny. And
she's been away for 6 weeks.
Trousers back on.
But and this is the thing with Shona. I think she could have had either reaction and it would have been in character for her. I think that her flying off the handle and saying, well, I'm leaving, I'm going back to where I'm going to go and stay at Roy's or whatever, that's her being kind of petulant and maybe immature and not trying to understand. I mean, I'm not forgiving David's behaviour here, but it could have been a lot worse what he did.
Well, again, it felt like, well, he didn't really do that. They just wrote in.
No,
that's how I felt about it. It felt to me, and I know this is not how it happens, but they got to the end of the week and they went, we need like 15 minutes more of something to do in this week. What should we have? Have Maria and David.
No, I just think it was the back from maternity leave into the drama. It was just the mule face, wasn't it?
But there was enough drama in the fact that her stepson's in prison for making people blow other people up.
With a knife.
I'm going to blow you up with this knife. Watch out. It's a knife with a firework attached to it.
Last thing for this storyline before we move on.
I'm going to stab you with a sparkler.
Going back to Evelyn. And
that
I can't even remember.
Can you imagine?
It would. There was a funny scene this week where Evelyn was buying a drink.
In the Rovers.
And paying with a contactless card.
And going boop, boop.
She just...
boop.
There was nothing inherently funny about it, but she had to boop her card twice, and I was just like...
I don't think she did. I think she got it the first time, but she's just been a dotty old...
For me it was that she got it wrong. I think it got the beep the first time, and it was just... And just to get Evelyn going, for heaven's sake, bloody technology. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm reading more into this than there actually
everyone's
was.
to write their theories.
Whoever wrote the episode... Was it Wednesday?
I got
Did Evelyn mean to boot that twice?
This is my interpretation of it. She did it, and it went through, but she hates the fact that these stupid things are booping, and she thinks it's all a load of nonsense. And so she tapped it again because she hates bloody contactless cards, and she wishes she could go back to the day where you could buy a pint with threepence.
Shall we move on to another storyline?
Yeah.
I think it's time for the Daisy. Look who's stalking story. And Gemma.
Is it me?
'Tis your story.
'Tis my turn?
Yes.
Well, I'll get a drink then.
Oh yes, cup of tea time. We'll be back in a second. Gemma's already out the door. She's going.
I thought you were going to pause it. But no.
I'm going to pause it right now. Cup of tea, yum. We're back. We got our tea.
I've got cider and tea.
My tea is too hot. I can't drink it, but I am anticipating... It's tealy deliciousness. So, Gemma, look who's stalking. It's Justin.
Monday, it is. Daisy's got a load of otter brooches. Are you sure they're brooches, not badgers? You don't know the difference, do you?
No, I think she said brooches.
The difference between
I don't think I'd have written brooches if they hadn't said brooches in the script. It's like, of course I do.
No, you don't.
I didn't used to, but I do now.
All right. Daisy receives a message from Justin saying that he was the one who delivered...
The otter brooches.
Why is
he... He's a delivery man, isn't he?
Oh, no, okay, sorry. He delivered it. He didn't buy them or order them or anything.
No.
But he's got her number because he was a delivery man and the company printed the phone number on the address label. I
don't think that's, very good idea. Would delivery companies do that?
Excuse me, Daisy's furious and confused that they do this all the time.
Do they? They put your phone number on a label.
Well, yeah, so that the delivery driver can go, hello, where are you? You're supposed to be getting these otter brooches. Can't leave them in the street. Someone's going to steal them. Everyone loves otter brooches. They do sometimes need your number.
They do really love otter brooches.
They do sometimes need your number.
Okay, fine.
It depends on what kind of courier you are. If you're delivering fresh crabs, like he wishes he could. Right, Daisy's telling Jenny that she's blocked his number, but now he can just use the number on any phone. And Jenny says, well, maybe you should just never leave the house again. Basically.
She says, look, maybe you need to be a bit more careful now. Don't go out after dark. Tell you what, Jenny's right. After what happened at the end of this week.
Oh, yeah, she's lost her chips on the floor.
Soon. Yeah.
and maybe you should get some pepper spray. And Daisy's like, you can't get pepper spray in this country.
That was funny when Jenny said that, and Daisy said it pretty quickly, but you turned around to me and said, you can't get pepper spray in this country, actually. And then
because I looked into it, because I want pepper spray.
My
controversial opinion, which I, again, previously, remember everybody, don't get mad at me, I said I shouldn't be in charge of anything. I think women should be allowed to carry pepper spray, but not men.
Why?
Because you have your bodies are weapons that you can use. We don't have anything. We're weaker. We're weaker than men. You're still stronger than I am. If we had a fight, you would beat me.
I don't know.
And you'd hurt me.
Well, I wouldn't do
I know you wouldn't. I know you wouldn't in real life. But my point is that men's bodies are weapons and women are defenseless. But and also, I think if you're a bloke and you're worried about women being allowed to have pepper spray, why? Because if they used it against you, it'd be a big crime, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
They'd only use it against you if you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Well,
doesn't it make you think? That would be the first time a man would actually be scared of a woman, wouldn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that women can never hurt men and that no man's ever had, obviously men are victims of violence from women too, but it's a far small amount.
Yeah.
That's my controversial opinion.
No, it's fine. My mind is drifting and I'm thinking of other kind of condiment sprays that you could have, and it's making me think of the Condiment King from Lego Batman.
Right, okay, so this is my new
I think that women should have mustard spray.
Mustard spray.
French's
ketchup. Mustard.
Yeah.
And then we squirt it in your eyeballs and run away. You could actually get away with being able to carry mustard.
Anyway, this is already running long,
That's my controversial opinion. There you go. What do you think, ladies? Bet all the women are going, this is a good idea, actually. Right, anyway, Daisy's like, no, why should I stay at home? Why shouldn't I go out at night? Don't forget.
I want some chips?
It gets dark at 5:30 here, so I should be allowed to do what I like. It's not the Middle Ages. Right, so later on, Daniel goes back to the pub, but Jenny sent Daisy home, and she's not happy about it, because Daisy is going to retreat into her shell and it'll be terrible. I will say I was really, what's the word? Surprised yet pleased at Coronation Street's exploration of misogyny this week. I really felt as though they finally talking about something that I've not really heard many people.
Yeah, they were preaching to you this week, weren't they? They're saying, "See, Gemma."
It's what I've been saying for ages. It's like the most invisible ism there is.
They really did do a good job, I think, of making Daisy showing that people were trying to control her,
control
Daisy,
and tell her what to do, and like blaming
and belittle her, and she was just there saying, people keep saying these things. I've got a brain of my own. That I can run my own life. And
it isn't the things that that were being said to her. A lot of people would say, "Oh, that's not unreasonable. That's actually, you should listen to them." But no, that's part of that's part of misogyny. You're not even realising. You wouldn't tell a man half the things that she got told this week. I'm surprised nobody said you're just upset because you're in your period. So on Wednesday, Daisy is listening to a voice message from Justin that he left last night saying, "Oh, I couldn't go to bed without saying goodnight to you," and so on. And she tells Steve and Daniel, and this is what you were saying about sensible Steve. And Daniel says, "I'll stay off work." It's like, Daniel, any excuse, you work shy bugger, go to work. You can't
stay off work because there's the Max storyline there.
Go be in the other storyline for a bit. She says, "I'll be fine." And Steve's like, "I'll look after her."
That's the last we see of Steve all week, I think.
Yeah, he's like, "God, this is too much pressure. I'm going."
I've got to go and sort out my scaffolding. Sorry, Daisy. I've got to
stare at it.
Distracted.
Someone comes into the pub to speak to her, and she's concerned, but it turns out he's just from the caterers. And they have this meeting, and it's going all right, but you've missed what happened here, because Jenny's really enthusiastic, but it turns out that he says to her, "Oh, we know that you're an influencer because I've seen your social media and we're really happy to work
I did
with
miss
you."
That, you're right.
And she's like freaking out going, "Oh God, I don't, like, all these people are staring at me. I keep putting my photos on the internet and I keep looking at them. I can't believe it." But she's like, "I can't deal with this. I just need sleep," because she's worrying. She can't rest. Daniel goes back to number 1 and he's like, I tried to talk to you, but you turned your phone off. And so she says, oh, I'm fine. And she turns it back on again. And message comes beep, 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 beep. And she's crying. So when is this going to stop?
She's great. And she's really selling the despair and the fear and the just all out nastiness in this situation. She's doing a fab job.
And I can say this, and this is not advice for Daisy, because this is not advice for people who are being stalked. This doesn't really make any difference to that situation. But if your notifications from social media make you anxious, just take them off. You don't need to know when someone's tweeting at you, or if they like you just don't need to know. It's probably making you more anxious than you realise. Turn them off, and then you only have to look at them when you go into the app. That it was really getting to me myself. I was getting anxious sometimes with all the messages coming up, because it's not just like, oh, I'm not worried about what people are saying. It's just like, oh, I need to pay. Oh, I need to
must engage.
Yeah, you can turn it off and only look at it when you want to look at it.
But yeah, you've got.
I had to do the same thing with my work emails. It's like every time my email bleeped, I was like, oh god, I've got to do something for work, and half the time it's just like 50% off at Sephora.
You've been getting some funny messages this week, haven't you?
I've got suddenly
on one of Gemma's other Facebook accounts, you've been getting lots of really random messages.
I get all these. I suddenly had like about 200 new followers, and they keep going, "Hey baby, how you doing?"
You got one in French as well, didn't you? Asking how you were.
Well, I'm just liking the attention, to be quite honest with you.
I don't know what Daisy's complaining about.
So, okay, right. So she's distraught here. She can't cope with this, and she can't get her head around what. Or Daniel's also like, I can't understand why Justin thinks this is going to work. Why? What does he think he can achieve with these messages? And then another one comes in and it says, I'd rather die than be without you. And I know you feel the same. And Daniel says, well, that's it. You come in with me. Get your notebook. Get your phone. We're going to go to the police station. This is a clear death threat.
I didn't think that Daniel, although some of what Daniel was saying was a little bit patronising and mansplaining and everything this
was fine.
I think him saying, right, this is the turning point. This is enough is enough. I think that was good for him.
I would like to say here that they might have had more success, and sadly, this, not that I agree that this is right, if they had gone to the police and said, this man is suicidal, he needs intervention. He's written, I'd rather die. I think that indicates suicidal thoughts as well as homicidal ones. I think it's more of a suicidal thing, because he's not going to be with her, is he?
Well, it's
like a murder-suicide.
Yeah, exactly. It came across to me as being a bit of an Arnold Swain, Emily Bishop situation.
I know, but I think Daniel would have had more success,
80s
sadly,
Corrie reference.
Because I think the police would have cared more about that. I think the police, if you say welfare check, suicidal thoughts, they know what to do there. If you come to them and go, look at this, look at my Instagram on my friend pic's face or whatever, they don't know what they're doing.
No, well, you would hope that if you went to the police, if you're in a situation like Daisy is, that they would be a bit more helpful than they actually were.
Well, in this fictional story.
Yeah, exactly. Because a few weeks ago it was Craig, wasn't it, that she spoke to at first, and
Craig
he was
probably
chocolate
wrote it down
teapot
with
territory, wasn't
ink.
he? And then, but this PC Scott character that was, I don't know if this is the first time that it was in it, I don't know, but he was particularly unhelpful, but not in a Craig useless way, just in a way of...
Just an incompetent...
Well, just in a rude...
He's not incompetent, is he? He's
no.
just like, I don't think this is a crime.
He's like, don't worry your pretty little head about this.
He's like, liking a pretty lady is not a crime, and if it is, lock me up. Right, so he's not helpful. He says, look, there's no difference here. This is not an escalation. She says, it's constant. It's every day. And he says, all right, tell me about it then. So she says, look, I've written this down. I've said this, done this. He's done that, blah, blah, blah. And he's taking it down and he says, okay, I'll do a report. And she's like, what do you mean a report? I need something to be done about this. And he says, well, this isn't a crime. I can't do anything about it. So they go home. Daniel and Daisy go home. And he says, we should change your number or something. And she says, no, I'm just going to ignore him and I'm going to move on with my life and I'm just going to zone him out. And Daniel says, no, how about this? I can have your phone and I can read the messages and then you don't have to. And then she suddenly gets another notification and it's this bloody policeman going through her holiday pictures going, like, that was pretty good. And she's like, great, now I've got another stalker.
Yeah.
She's like Katamari Damacy of stalkers.
What's that?
Katamari.
Oh, just rolling
around and just collecting stalkers as she goes.
Well, she shouldn't be so beautiful then, should she?
Well, this is the thing. This is what they say. They said it to me many times. I can't help it. Friday, Daniel's taken the day off work to look after... He's work shy again. To look after Daisy and her phone.
3-day weekend.
She's got a new phone, and she's only got her family and close friends on that.
Yeah,
and,
so Daniel's looking after her social media phone.
For some reason, Daniel's promoted himself from I'll just look at your messages for you to I'm going to go to a meeting on your behalf, take the photos and upload them to the internet myself. I don't know why she let him go instead of her.
Well, last time that she went to that wedding fair, was that a social media thing? It was also a normal wedding. That's when Justin
That's because she posted it when she was there.
Yeah.
And you did this when we went to Manchester. I said, don't post while we're here. And you went, I don't care.
Well, we got some people commenting on our
I told you not to do it.
Saying, oh, Justin's going to be stalking you, Michael.
I wasn't involved in that. I said, can you not do it? And you wouldn't listen to me.
I just wanted to tell people straight away.
I know, you're so excited. So she told him, don't post anything, I'll do it. But he's like, I know better than her. So he posted...
I'm an excellent writer. I got an English graduate, thank you.
He posted it as an ice sculpture company. So he posted
a nice
the picture.
Sculpture company.
Ice, I said.
I know.
And he wrote some kind of Shakespearean quote underneath it about ice. And tagged the wrong company. She's like, you lunatic. What are you doing? What I told you not to do this. And he says, look, this is too much hassle. You're overreacting. You're getting too stressed. And she says, I'm trying to fund our wedding here. You're not going to be able to do it with your work shy behaviour, going to work only like twice a week. And he says, well, then we'll just get married later on. And she's like, oh my God, this is not what I want to hear from you. And they start arguing.
I thought Glenda was creating that scene because she was coming up with these other ice puns. She's like, you can't go wrong with ice to meet you or whatever it is.
And what was the other one she came
I
up
can't
with?
remember. But
nice work if you can get it.
Oh yeah, ice work if you can get it.
She's great. She was good this week.
But then there was a bit where the camera was like slowly panning down underneath the bar, and it's like, is she going to have some secret thing underneath it?
She's
just showing her pulling a pint. It was a bit of an odd shot, that one. But on the whole, tonight's was very well done. Dom Stevenson, I think he did some excellent directing. Because there was a scene that comes later on that I particularly liked in the hall of number 1, when Daisy is... let's wait until we get there.
Yeah, we'll get to it, yeah. So, Daisy's had a stress out, and now she's going for a walk. And she's having a coffee. And she sees Justin walking down the road with this bunch of white flowers. And she grabs them. She's like, I don't want these stupid flowers. And she stamps on them. And then he like tries to grab her and she punches him on the nose. And George comes out of the shop. I don't know where he was.
Well, he must have been waiting outside the funeral parlour, wasn't he? Because turns out Justin was there.
I thought they were on the other side of the road, but he comes out of the speed dial. Anyway, it's irrelevant. He comes out and he goes, what the hell are you doing? His mum's just died. And Daisy's like, I'm sorry about your mum, but that's all I'm sorry about.
As the seasoned soap opera connoisseurs as we are, we could have maybe seen that little twist coming.
Well, I said it straight away.
I know, it's like, his mum's died, isn't he? That's what those flowers are for, but classic misunderstanding.
This was also a classic trope of fiction, the Cassandra effect, where she's there ranting and raving and all the men are like, calm down, love. And it's like, no, I am saying the truth here. Can you not see that what I'm going through? And they're like, oh, women. Can't really hear what she's saying because it's too high pitched.
Well, that's true though, isn't it?
She doesn't really articulate very well what's happening. And
she
so
doesn't there, and
George
there's too much
out,
to explain for George because he's not...
He needs things
He's been out
to be...
of the situation. He's nothing to do with him, although unless Glenda's been talking to him.
He comes out on the street and Daisy's attacking a man who's bereaved and stamping on his flowers for his mum. So it's kind of difficult to explain the situation from that perspective. But anyway, George immediately takes Justin's side because he doesn't know anything other than what he's seen. But, you know, I would have thought that if you knew Daisy at all, you'd think, this isn't normal for her. You must have done something.
Oh, come on. She is a bit of a drama queen.
She goes around just slapping all the men all the time. So, Daisy goes home. She cries on the floor. And this is the scene that you were talking about that you thought was well directed.
It was like, because she was there with her, was it, and Daniel, they were sitting at the bottom of the stairs with the back against the wall. And the camera was there sitting in the front parlour, and they don't. Is that the room, the front room, or whatever? And they don't usually show that angle. It felt new and a bit different. There was another scene later on or earlier on, I can't remember, in the episode, which was looked like it was taken from the Red Bank steps looking down onto Victoria Street, which was nicely done as well.
Yeah. So she's crying, and he's trying to make her feel better, and says, they're talking about whether they should postpone the wedding because they don't know whether Justin's going to ruin it. But they don't make any real decisions.
I don't think they do anyway. If they did, they wouldn't clear.
Jess comes in. Jess, do everyone remember Jess?
Officer Jess. I can't remember what her surname is.
Busy mate on the police force. She comes into the pub and she says, "Got to come down the station with me for voluntary interview." And Daniel's like, "No, what's happened?" And she's like, "Allegation made against you for doing a slappity slap to a man." And Daisy says, "Well, fine, I'll go."
It was a bit more than a slappity slap. He did have a bloodied nose at the end of it.
I know, but
it was a bop at least.
She should have got him with a mustard. Like that, straight in the eyeball.
Ketchup at one nostril, mustard at the other.
Dijonnaise in the eyes. Right, so Daisy is being interviewed by PC Jess, and she's like, "I can't believe you are interviewing me when this guy is the one who's been doing all the crimes." And Jess is like, "I don't know what you mean. Nobody told me about this." Then PC, is it the same guy, PC Scott?
Yeah.
He comes in. Oh yes, it was. Sorry. He comes in and goes, "Oh, Justin's withdrawn his complaint. Calm down." He says, "Look, you're kind of you need to calm down, and I'm just saying, you're not being funny or anything, but you are posting everything you do on the internet and then wondering why people are liking it." And Daisy's like, "You can't tell me that." And he kind of looks at Jess like, "Get a load of that," and walks off.
I was wondering, and I don't know whether I'm just making stuff up there, were we supposed to believe, because I did, that PC Scott made Justin drop the charges or something? Because
no, it was part of his plan.
She'd told...
No. Go on, tell me why you think
no, Daisy told Jess that PC Scott's a bit of a dodgy geezer. So does she go and tell Scott what's going on here then? And then Scott tells Justin, right, you better drop your charges just so that everybody kind of forgets about it. That's how I read the scene, but nothing. No, there's nothing in there. From there.
I'm going to explain to you what I think is happening here.
Go on then.
It's you also didn't write this down, but Daisy tells Jess that PC Scott's been liking her stuff.
Yeah.
And creeping over her as well. And she's like, "Well, sorry about that. You shouldn't have been doing that." But I think this is Justin exercising any control whatsoever that he can do. He doesn't actually want Daisy to get in trouble because he thinks they're in love. He wants to punish her. There's a saying: the process is the punishment. The legal system. I don't think it's applied specifically in the way I'm doing it, but I'm using it in this instance to describe the fact that Daisy being put through the humiliation of having to go to the police station and the anxiety and the worry about having this dangling over her. This is Justin's way of controlling her and punishing her for going against him. He doesn't want her to go to prison, or he doesn't want to press charges against her. He wants to control her and he wants her to be with him. So he's punishing her with the process and also it shows in a way that this system doesn't always work for victims like Daisy. Because there's a lot I don't know about the laws behind all this stuff, but it's definitely much easier to look at two people and a witness and go, "Well, you punched him on the nose, crime."
Well, I was trying
compared to he's liking all my tweets and sending me messages.
I did a minimal amount of research last night about the legalities surrounding stalking, and I couldn't really figure much of it out because this was the thing after Wednesday's episode when PC Scott saying, "Well, he's not really done a crime there." Lots of people online I saw going, "Yes, he is. Why?
A policeman would never say that."
Yeah. Why are they making this out? This is just misinformation. Coronation Street viewers are now going to be too scared to bother to report if this happens to them. Well done, Coronation Street, just for the drama. But luckily they did pick up on this today.
Well, it's part of the story. The story wasn't finished on Wednesday.
No.
And I find it frustrating to have the insinuation that a police officer would never ever do anything wrong, and that all police officers know all the laws about everything. That's definitely not true.
No.
there's a lot of laws that they don't actually understand, and they misapply laws in some cases, and they think some things are a crime that they aren't, and vice versa. And most of them do know, but some of them don't. Just the same as any other job. And are we going to pretend that a woman wasn't murdered by a police officer? Are we going to pretend that all police officers are angels and they never do anything wrong? Are we going to pretend that there's not a massive problem with misogyny in the police force? And there are actually thousands of, well, hundreds, at least over 1,000 police officers in London being investigated for violent crimes at the moment.
Are there?
There is a lot going on in the police force, and there are lots of reasons for women to be suspicious or worry about the reaction.
Quite timely, this character then.
There are cases of police officers taking photographs of women's corpses, victims of crime who've been murdered, and sharing it with each other. There was the guy that was Wayne Couzens who murdered that woman. Everyone called him rapey. They knew he was a rapist. They knew that he was dangerous. The police force protected him.
Well, I don't think
it's not a story about that, but if you can't pretend it's not happening. You can't pretend that all the police officers are exactly the same and they're all fantastic, wonderful, professional, and none of them are misogynistic, chauvinistic pigs like PC Scott is.
Yeah.
And I think you need to recognise that Jess is the balance here, and Jess is the one who's being a professional and a competent, caring police officer, the same way that you would hope that all police would be depicted if you're in the police. But the same way that other professions get chucked under the bus, I'm afraid that you have to accept that it's going to happen with police. Because that happened, I was trying to think of a profession that Coronation Street hasn't thrown under the bus, and I thought, it's probably the NHS, and then I remembered Mr.
Thorne.
Mr. Thorne.
I was wondering the other day whether there'd be any mileage in them not having the character of Scott doing this, but having the guy that was investigated for racially profiling Michael and James, the one that was like, I'm not racist. It would be interesting if he was also saying, I'm not sexist, I'm not misogynist.
No, I think that would be... No, because there are racist cops and there are sexist cops, and some of the Venn diagram overlaps somewhere, but I wouldn't say that it's helpful to say this is the problem cop and he's the only one that does anything wrong.
At the end of this story is like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be a police officer after all.
I thought you were going to say, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be sexist. No, you're right. That would never happen.
Can't give up on the sexism. It's got to be the policing that goes. Sorry. Sorry, Weatherfield.
Yeah, well,
just a little bit more crime.
I definitely understand that there are lots of really, really great, dedicated, wonderful, professional, lovely police officers who genuinely care about the community and take their oath seriously. And if you want that, watch Happy Valley. But this is a story about stalking, and sometimes victims do get given wrong advice. And the other point I also want to make is if the story was she went to the police and went, yes, we'll sort it out, and she said, thank you very much, and then Justin said, sorry about that, then the story would be over in a week.
Bit boring.
It's not a story, and that doesn't actually happen in real life, and people get stalked for years and years. And that's a story about this. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the ones that go sorted out in 5 seconds flat. So, with that said,
back to the plot.
Back to the story. So
Justin comes into the pub later, doesn't he?
They've now left, and Justin comes into the pub to see Daisy, and he wants to talk to her.
I can't believe, why don't you leave me alone?
This was bizarre. I didn't really get the point of this scene. Because Justin's like, I need to talk to you, and he doesn't really say anything. They all sit. Daisy and Daniel and Justin sit in the pub, and Justin says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to call the police. I want to make it right to you. I'll give you another chance to be with me." And she's like, "No, you're delusional. Go away. You're nothing to me, and you never will be." And he's like, "Oh, you'll regret this," and then goes. Like, okay. I kind of really wanted her to be smarter, and I wanted a bit more fire and, back and forth. And
she's just been worn down though, hasn't she? And she was caught off guard a little bit by him coming into the police station. Into the pub.
It's probably important for the story for her to clearly and plainly tell him, I am not interested in you. You have to leave me alone. But it's not really that interesting or fun, is it? Or witty.
No, I'm happy the way they're going with it. So and then, I thought it was interesting when Jess came in. Because it's like, you're not a character. What are you doing?
Jess is like, oh, guess what? They let me wear just normal clothes. I'm in my civvies.
I'm going to have my own dressing room before I know it.
So Jess comes in and she finds Daisy, and Daisy's initially hostile to her, going, I told you everything. I thought charges had been dropped. And she says, no, I'm just here for a chat. I want to tell you. Scott got a reprimand for his actions. And here's the thing I'm wondering. Is Scott going to get his knickers in a twist about this and start going after Daisy to get his revenge?
Yeah, maybe.
Because that happens as well. And it shouldn't do. But it does.
Yeah, well, maybe Scott will do something and Justin will get the blame for it, or vice versa.
And she also says to Daisy, I've got some ideas for what you can do. One thing is to go for a stalking protection order. So
is that like a victim personal statement?
Yeah, protection stalking order. No, this is good because this is what she should have been told initially, and perhaps the cop didn't know that this was a thing. On the way back from the chip shop, in the dark, just like Jenny warned her against, Daisy gets confronted by Justin coming out of the dark, and he says, "Look, I know you only were mean to me because Daniel was there, and you really love me." And she says, no, leave me alone. And if you don't, I'm going to get a stalking protection order out on you. In fact, I've already started doing it. And he gets mad about it. And he starts advancing on her and she drops her chips, which is the most tragic part of the whole week. And then a couple of blokes standing outside the Rovers were like, all right, love, are you okay? And then Justin gets spooked and he says, you're a self-centered, ungrateful bitch. And then he runs off.
And that's the end of the episode.
And I said to you, this is unrealistic because in real life, Daisy didn't say anything to the men. She just let them ask her if she was okay and she didn't respond because she was too shaken. But in real life, if she hadn't replied to them, within seconds they would be like, oh, you stuck up bitch, what do you mean? What's wrong with you? Do you think you are? We helped you out there. You could at least say thank you.
Rovers doesn't attract that kind of clientele, Gemma. Gemma has high standards.
Well, no, I don't. I just have been around burly men who are nasty men.
I'm still loving this storyline. I am feeling in some ways it's getting a little repetitive, but
that's what it's like to be stalked, Michael. Welcome to the club.
But yeah, I'm weirdly not bored by it.
Nice.
I'm enjoying it all.
I'm glad she's not boring you with those tales of woe.
Well, a lot of it is just, oh no, look, I've got another message again. Oh no, I've got another beep on my Instagram. Oh no, here comes Justin to be creepy. But that's underselling it because the performances Justin are really, really selling it. Just the guy playing Justin.
It's so scary and sinister and creepy and weird.
Yeah, he's just
doing
kind
a brilliant job.
Creepy, smiley man.
Because he's quite unassuming, isn't he?
Yes.
And when we first saw him, he was very vulnerable and sweet and
yeah, it's not like he's some big burly roughy tufty like ugh.
But he does, yeah. He can turn it. He can turn that sinisterness on really well.
Yeah, they've cast him fantastically, and having that scene set after dark, and Coronation Street doesn't do very many after dark scenes, sadly, and it wasn't just filmed during the day with a nighttime filter over the camera like they've been known to do in the past. We can tell, Corrie, when you do that.
Now,
well, I assume so, though they did do a good...
I'm not talking about that. Yeah. I thought we'd finished talking about the darkness.
No, I'm just thinking, actually, they did do that good nighttime scene with Gary digging the grave last year, didn't they? And it was actually filmed during the day and it looked quite nighttimely, so maybe I'm wrong. Sorry.
Now, I was just trying to collect my thoughts, if that's all right with you. Stalker. Right, so I'm getting slightly frustrated with Daisy not doing some things that feel quite obvious to me. And again, there's definitely a difference between victim blaming and saying, why don't you try this? Okay, and I'm not victim blaming her at all. But he's a delivery driver and he's got her number from a parcel and now he's harassing her. I'm sure that if she phoned the delivery company and told them he's done that and she's reported it to the police and she gives them a crime number, they will say, okay, we're really sorry, he's fired. because that would immediately make... He's got a reason to be in her vicinity as long as he's a delivery driver on that route.
The thing is,
she takes that away from him.
With Justin Mind being fired, if at the end of the day he's got her number and that's really what he wants.
Of course, it's not necessarily going to stop the behaviour, but it's a step closer to protecting herself. I don't know how you take out a restraining order, or if that's a thing that's just is that Americanism? I don't know, but I'm sure you can say, you leave me alone and don't come anywhere near this part.
I think that's a thing, yeah.
She should look into that. The trouble is, as Jess says, you have to collect lots of evidence to prove. You can't just go, I don't like this person, they can't come to Bitton anymore. You know, that would be misused. This is the trouble. All of the things that are remedies for this, you could apply to people that you just don't like. So they need evidence to prove that this is actually there's actually a good reason for doing it.
Yeah.
And sadly, that involves you being harassed by them for a certain amount of time.
I know, it's rubbish, isn't it?
Well, there's the same thing with, say, if you have a problem neighbour or something, you have to write down the behaviour and you have to have evidence before.
Well, it was good. I mean, I think when she saw Craig the first time, he was the one that told her to start documenting everything, and that's what she brings out, doesn't she, to PC Scott? So that was good to show that it didn't work, clearly, but she was just speaking to the wrong officer, because as soon as Jeff's got wind of this, she's like, I want to help you, and even off duty I'm going to help you.
I like Jess.
I like Jess.
Yeah, look, you can't get mad about the police being depicted poorly, because Jess took time out of her personal day to go and help Daisy. That's the sort of police officer that we want and expect.
It's just so funny seeing her coming back as a kind of a proper character, because
I don't know if she's going to be out of this.
No, I don't think she will. But
it was really nice. I think a good use of that character.
I think really, really good use as somebody that people are going to recognise.
Because we've got lots of police officers that we do recognise, and lots of women in the force that we could say, DS Beckett or whatever. But Jess is a similar age to Daisy, although we've all just found out that I can't tell people's ages. So she might be 22. She could be 82. For all I can tell. But similar age to Daisy, and she's probably a bit more up on how people can actually be harassed, because PC Scott seems like a bit of a dinosaur and a bit of a chauvinist and a pig, but he probably also doesn't really understand if he's not on social media.
He is on social media. He likes all the holiday posts,
but he's obviously more of a consumer than I don't think anyone's going to be liking his holiday pictures. He doesn't know what it's like. Jess probably does. Jess understands it a bit better.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Having somebody who finally understands it, because I don't know. Jenny's been kind of listening. Glenda's been kind of listening, but Jess seems to be the first woman that's heard about the woes that Daisy's gone through, who's actually saying, "Oh, this really does sound like a problem," rather than just like, "Oh, just ignore him," or "Oh, it'll go away."
Without wishing to know to sort of put words in people's mouths or anything, I do wonder how much of Jenny and maybe Glenda, I'm not sure, how much of their kind of brushing it off, concerned, but going, is a result of them having grown up in a slightly different era when a bloke would have tapped you on the arse and it was a funny joke.
Yeah, that's a good point. With a little bit of the age difference. Yeah,
and Jenny's worked behind the bar for she's been a barmaid. She's a Pom Delight girl. Yeah. And Glenda's worked in the cruises, and she's an entertainer who's around drunk men all the time. There's no way she hasn't had people yelling "nice tits, love," and she's supposed to go, "Ha ha ha! Thanks so much for the compliment." Every woman loves to hear that. She can't stop a show and go eject this drunkard from the cruise.
Yeah, you just got to roll with it.
There's a certain element of having to put up with this behaviour and expectations of women to sort of just think it's a funny, no big deal. And this was another thing, talking about Happy Valley again, that even gets addressed in Happy Valley when they were saying, when what's her face? Catherine, when she was younger, they were all sexist to her. Yeah. And they had to wear mini dresses to work as part of their uniform. Yeah. And everything's changed, and perhaps there is a bit of that of... I'm not saying that Jenny or Glenda are saying, you got to deal with it, but they might have a different... boundary.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it's good for Daisy to keep her boundary where it is. That's acceptable.
Yeah. Well, moving on a little bit from that, Daniel and his use of Daisy's phone. Do you think
what
there's
a donkey?
I kind of find it funny in a way, yeah, that he's been stupid. That's kind of interesting as a little side story to it. But I wonder if that's going to go anywhere. Where he's posted this thing clearly wrongly. I think you said at the time when we were watching it, why doesn't Daisy just delete it and then repost it again? You can do that. But I do wonder, yeah, is there going to be any comeback from it? And was Daisy a little bit? Did she overreact a little bit to what Daniel had done?
He specifically told him, "Don't do anything with the picture. Let me do it." But again, as usual, Daniel knows better than everybody else. And he's like, "I know what this would jazz this Instagram account up. Some Shakespeare."
Right, let's move on. I was going to kind of talk a little bit about Daisy's mum and like whether the story would be much different with her in, but I don't know whether it would be. That was so odd bringing her in for a couple of weeks, wasn't it? And then whisking her off again. She was great clashing with Jenny, but
I think the thing is there would be too many different characters, and we don't need any more people in this story because we've got all the, you know, Glenda's doing a good job, and Jenny's being the mother.
Yeah, we don't need the mum. Right, okay, LS deceit storyline. So Carla's been on the phone to Gadas on Monday morning, and Peter says, and we find out that Peter just needs to monitor her, give Gadas a ring in a few days to say how she's doing. And Carla, by this point, is just mortified by what happens. She's like, I just feel different. My head feels different.
Was she saying it's not like it was before?
Yeah, when I'm feeling weird, it's not like the last time that I had my mental health issues.
It's like something different.
Yeah, and now I feel perfectly fine. What's going on with me? But I don't know, maybe I can go back to the factory or whatever. And Peter's obviously a little bit concerned about this because as far as he's concerned, it's the factory and only the factory that's the trigger that's making her go a little bit doolally. So he goes...
Sorry, I just noticed for the first time today that Peter's coat on his buttons has little anchor logos on it.
I did that.
And I'm loving the idea that number one, Peter went to a clothes shop and saw this jacket and went, I used to be in the Navy. That reminds me of when I was in there. I loved being in the Navy. I wish I was still in it, but I can have these buttons to remind me. Or somebody, Carla, maybe Ken, went to the shop and went, he was in the Navy, he probably would love these anchor buttons, I'm going to buy this for him. And then Peter opened it and went, yeah, I was in the Navy. Thanks, guys. Thanks for remembering that fact about me. Cool. I'm glad you didn't get the Jack Daniels buttons, because I'm over that.
Anyway.
Don't you just think it's really twee and cute that this like middle-aged man is like, anchors for my Navy?
Yes. Has Gary got like guns and bullets and bombs and things?
Yeah. Well, he could have a Ukrainian flag, couldn't he, to remind him?
He could. So no, Peter goes along to the factory and says, well, yeah, Carla says she's going to be back at work in a few days. So it's just going to be okay. She's all right. I've just come to collect some new info on the new Saturn line. And Stephen's like, no, I'll bring it round to Carla later because he's clearly in no mood for Carla to come back. He needs to keep her off work as long as possible. So he takes those files over to her later, acting all concerned and compassionate towards Carla as a friend. But of course, as soon as her back turned, drip, 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 in goes some more LSD into a lovely glass of water. Kicking in later, and she's going a bit woozy and a bit ooh, again. Just in time for Peter to come in, and Stephen's like, oh, I was just about to ring you. Peter says, did they call a doctor? I kind of missed what happened there, but it didn't feel like Carla got any...
You assume that she had a doctor.
But I was wondering, like... Because it looked like Stephen was panicking when Peter said call a doctor because you don't want any tests done on Carla to prove that she's got LSD inside her system.
All it would have taken is for her to be admitted to A&E and have a doctor who is suspicious and doesn't believe her story because she has a history of substance abuse. Yes, it wasn't drugs, it was alcohol. But there are plenty of doctors who've seen people coming in, acting strangely, swearing they've not taken anything, and turns out that they're high as a kite. I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't happen at some point because it would make sense to me that a doctor would immediately go look at, you know, and you wouldn't even need to have a history of alcohol abuse or anything, for them to be a bit suspicious of your bit, because they can recognise some signs.
Yeah.
And yes, she's got a history of psychosis, but that's what it would take just to run a panel, and I'm sure they do this quite a lot with people.
Yeah. Anyway, that's kind of it. Peter uses this incident as... Well, no, he doesn't use it. It just makes him realise Carla isn't actually ready to go back to the factory yet. I think she needs a long time off work.
Carla and Peter are both...
Stephen's like, yeah, my plan worked.
Very, very protective over each other.
I love the little scene, even though it was odd that they were both wearing black and they were blending into the sofa and everything at the end of today's episode. The little moment where they were curled up and kind of spooning each other on the sofa was
cute,
quite sweet, wasn't it?
But they really should have had different clothes on, because it looked like Peter had a beautifully rounded hip.
Well, maybe he does.
I don't think he does.
I don't stare at Chris Gascoigne's hips. I don't know about these things.
Here's my prediction.
Ladies, anybody?
Here's my prediction. I wonder if Stephen's going to keep this up. I want to see a scene where he accidentally drinks the LSD.
Oh, yeah. How would that happen?
Because
the old switcheroo on the glasses.
Here we go. Do you get hallucinations with LSD?
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Like Ken.
Here we go.
What?
Teddy and Leo come back.
Oh, yeah, they do like a returning victim on Coronation Street, don't they?
We've already had this established as a thing that happens in Coronation Street. I think that would be... Love it.
Yeah.
Maybe... No, I don't...
How can we make that happen?
Write in. Everybody write in.
Okay, so on Friday, because we have a break for it for Wednesday, because there's no time for pantomime villain Stephen Reed when there's serious racism stuff going on. So
I'll tell you what, one thing about
Stephen, a bit of a break for Wednesday.
He might be a murderer, but he's not a racist so far.
Friday's episode then, Stephen tells Elaine that he's got some money coming in soon, so he's going to be able to pay her back for that loan. And she's like,
just skimming stuff off of the books? Is that the insinuation?
Maybe. And she's like, oh, that's very handy, because there's been a nice flat coming up at Red Bank that I'd quite like to buy. So it's just like, is Elaine going?
Where's Red Bank?
Red Bank's the one that's above Speed
Yeah, that's
Dial.
what I thought.
Yeah, so this is suggesting that she's going to move into the street and be, at long last, a permanent resident.
Nobody
after
lives
nearly
there,
2
do they?
years. No, Claudia lived there at one point,
but there's no set for that.
No.
Don't give
we
Elaine
never
a
saw
set,
it.
please.
No, I know she just.
I don't like how much I dislike her.
If she's good.
I want to like her.
I think Stephen's got to.
Just kill her, Stephen, please.
There's a little side story as well in today's episode where Peter finds Rufus's watch in his cab, doesn't he?
Let's all remember, this watch is worth more than Peter
Dodgy
could earn in
Rufus.
his whole life.
Yeah, so he is looking like maybe, because Carla wants to go on holiday at the end of the episode, doesn't she? So he's like thinking, should I steal this Rufus's watch?
Are you going to skip? Are you just going to gloss all over it?
Well, he goes to see Peter and Stephen. So he goes to see Sarah and Stephen at work, doesn't he? To say,
well, he's got this. He doesn't tell them.
No, he doesn't say I've got a watch. He pretends that he's working for Rufus, and Stephen doesn't want Peter anywhere near Rufus, just in case Rufus says, "All right, by the way, have you seen any vials of LSD? I've lost a few recently. Any ideas?
I'm missing a chemical which induces a sort of psychosis in people.
Yeah,
and it's completely undetectable in food and
so
drink."
So Stephen's like, "No, just stay away from him. As far as I'm concerned, he's a dodgy geezer, and sorry, I've not got his number." So anyway. After
no.
What?
The point of the scene was Stephen and Sarah emphasising Rufus is a no good arsehole of a man, and Stephen saying I wouldn't have anything to do with him. And
he said something about sometimes you got to be sly to be successful. Or something.
He says sometimes you've got to do things that aren't great for money. Something like that.
It was something that made Peter go.
He says, sometimes if someone leaves a watch in your taxi but they're horrible, you can just keep it because they don't deserve nice things, and you could sell it and go on holiday with your wife.
Yeah.
But I don't know why I'm saying that to you, Peter.
So anyway, at the end of the episode, Carla's saying, "Oh, I'm going to go back to the factory, but I need a nice holiday first." And obviously, Peter's then considering selling this watch so that he can fund. His and Carla's little holiday away from somewhere.
Where are they going?
I don't know.
Where would you go?
They'll probably just go back to LA or somewhere, won't they?
If you could go anywhere right now, if I gave you a gold watch that was worth £100 million, and you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go with me?
Bed. Oh, not with you.
Oh, shut up.
I go to sleep. I'm tired. I'm knackered now.
Okay, right, listen. Do you want me to finish this off then?
No, it's fine.
The only other thing that happens is about...
Yes, Stephen finds this contract in the factory, doesn't he?
You skipped over again.
Oh, sorry.
Sarah's talking to Stephen about the fact that it's great Carla's not here. And then, for some reason, Sarah's such a gossip. She goes, last time Carla went, had psychosis, had mental health struggles, she gave half the factory away. And then Stephen goes, that sounds good. Goes to the factory and finds the contract, the Articles of Association, contract for Underworld between management and staff. So he's obviously up to something. He's gonna drug her again. He's gonna make her sign something.
Yeah, he's gonna make her. He's gonna try and make her sign the factory over to him, which is like, okay, it's been done before. Like I said, there's only so much excitement that you can get out of a factory story and who owns what and who's got what shares and everything. Right. It's been done time and time again.
If you do business with somebody, quite often you'll go onto company's house and sort of look up the business and say, how long has this business been established for? Where's the address? Where is it located, who's in charge, etc., etc. And it tells you, how many directors the company has had and how long they've worked there and stuff.
Yeah.
If you go to the Underworld, it looks like a chaotic mess because it's like, it's this corner, that corner, this corner, that corner. Well, if you look on the
Coropedia page for Underworld and who's owned what when, there's this massive complicated table of...
You'd be like, no, these people are lunatics. I'm not doing business with them. You don't know who's going to be working there in 2 years' time. It's going to be a completely different person.
Hey, Gemma, pull my finger.
Yeah.
Let's finish off with Paul.
I feel like nothing happened in this apart from Paul kept dropping things.
Yeah, kind of. He's just got a sore arm, hasn't he?
Dee Dee's very happy about the fact that he and Billy are getting back together and encourages them to go for it. But Paul's like, no, it's too much heartbreak for me. But then Dee Dee sees Billy and she tries, says, oh, Paul's head's all over the place. And he's a bit anxious. And Todd overhears this. And Todd goes to see Paul after overhearing this conversation and says, you need to tell Billy the truth about you shoving Mike. Then you won't have to worry about it and you can get together with him and it will be out in the open. And then Todd watches from the window as Paul and Billy chat and we assume that he tells him.
Yeah, he does.
Billy's like, oh no, I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell the police about you. And they have a kiss because I guess Billy likes a bad boy.
I thought it was interesting having Todd looking out the window. Seeing them,
it's like God looking
down.
He's
like the stalker now.
Going, thumbs up from me.
Wednesday's episode of Coronation Street, apart from having sensible Gail and Steve scenes, it was also a look who spent the night together, wasn't it? Because it's like, Ryan and Alya are back together, and look, Paul and Billy are back together.
So Todd goes around the flat, finds Paul stayed the night, and Billy's awkward about it because he's the archdeacon, and he's also a slag.
I know.
Todd's chuffed for them.
What would the archdeacon think of that?
Yeah.
What would the Archbishop of Canterbury think about what you're doing, Billy?
Billy tells Todd...
He's been in prison and everything.
Billy tells Todd he knows
Although Jesus did dine with the tax collector, so...
Jesus would push anyone over if they're doing naughty things outside a temple. Billy tells...
He'd topple their tables, wouldn't he?
He'd be like, rah!
And then he'd make the olive tree wither. Was it an olive tree?
What a badass.
Carry on.
Billy tells Todd, you've just skipped it.
Sorry.
It knows you took the blame, push Mike. No, I don't know really know.
It just all comes out and
don't worry
Billy's
about
like,
it.
Oh well.
Everyone does something wrong once or twice in a story. In the pub,
I shot up heroin in the church.
Yeah, come back to me when you've done that. In the pub, Paul's trying to play darts, and he tries to pick the dart up. It doesn't work, and then he throws it at Evelyn's hat, which he claims was an accident.
I thought that was suddenly interesting. Like I think I said earlier, when it suddenly turned into there's something wrong with Paul. It's like, oh,
interesting. There were ramifications for him being crushed by a bicycle that car knocked into him because Carla drove into it. So he, she's like, you're a drunkard. He says, I'm not. He leaves, and Billy gives her 20 quid. which can go a long way at Gregory Pope for a new hat.
You can get a whole new suit for that.
In the flat, Paul's like, I'm not drunk, but I am tired. And he's like, oh, my hand. And then on Friday...
He's like, oh, well, here Alya's been getting a load of scenes by acting the victim.
I'm going to write a victim personal statement.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? Yeah.
Right, on Friday, Gemma invites Paul and Billy to tea, but by that she means cider. And there was a funny scene when they were all drinking cider and Billy takes a sip and he's like, I'm far too sophisticated for this swill. And he kind of makes a funny face, which I thought was really good.
As a cider drinker.
Well, you know, I'm not going to share my cider with a vicar.
What's your favourite tipple?
Gemma gets text messages from the gas company. Oh my god,
money woes.
Oh my god, Corrie's gone woke. She owes $4,000 on the gas bill, and she's panicking, going, "How am I going to ever pay this off? What am I going to do? We already lived hand to mouth. I can't afford to pay £4,000." And
I'm going to sell the quads for $1,000 each.
Problem solved.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Paul says, look, I'll work really hard and I'll help you. And Billy's like, oh no. And he was making a face, and I thought...
Paul's such a do-gooder, isn't he?
Well,
honestly.
I thought Billy was making a face like, I'm a rich archdeacon. I could just give them £4,000. Yeah. I could get them a heat pump. But no, he goes at home and he says, oh, I was worried about you. I don't think you should work too much because it will set back your progress.
Yeah.
And then Paul
Speaking of
can't pick up his wine glass, and he doesn't even think to use his other hand.
No.
Nobody ever accused Paul of being intelligent.
Yeah.
No, but
what?
It is very topical, and I don't know how. I mean, every country's having trouble with their energy bills, but
you're on a fixed rate.
The
You're
UK,
okay
don't think anyone cares about us. Nobody's worried about us.
Just saying.
But this is happening to a lot of people. And, you know, if you were going to nitpick, which I would never do to Coronation Street, you would say it would have been nice if they had somebody tell Gemma that she could probably phone her energy company and say, listen, there's no way I can pay, what can I do? And they would actually, I think they have to help you work out a way of pay. Yes, they can't, you can't just, well, I mean, lots of people...
they just send in the heavies.
They come and confiscate the children. I mean, obviously, it's not like there's no way anyone's ever going to get into trouble with energy bills because loads of people are struggling. Mm. But you don't just immediately get the bill and give up straight away. You kind of... Yeah. There are things you can do.
Mm. Well, that's okay then. Gemma?
Instead of exploit your brother.
Gemma?
Oh, what?
What are you scoring this week's Coronation Street?
I think I'm going to give this 4.5.
Oh, you're going to 4.5. See, I'm thinking that I might do as well.
Dropped chips.
I wasn't as engaged in the LS deceit storyline and the pull my finger storyline. Even that was kind of interesting. I'm not bothered about whether he's bonking the vicar or anything, but the whole wobbly hand thing is intriguing me a little bit. But because the other 2 storylines, which did dominate so much more than that, I think I'm going for it. So what were you saying? 4.5 what?
Drop chips.
4.5 drop chips. That's not too bad.
I know. I don't know what Daisy was moaning about.
You can still fill your stomach with that, can't you? I'm giving it 4 footballs stuffed up Shona's jumper out of 5. No, 4.5. 4.5 footballs stuffed up.
Good for you,
Jonas.
Corrie. This is like the best score.
It was a good week. That was a really good week.
Highlights, obviously, were the Wednesday episode with
that middle section
of Alya and Max versus Max and Griff versus Spider. That was great. But I do want to give a shout out to the really funny scene when all the women are discovering the fact that Reg Varney was the first person to use a cash point in the whole world.
And everyone was saying it's a man thing, and then they proved it's right because the men. I didn't know that fact. I don't even know. I'd never heard of Reg Varney.
But I did think I want to give a shout out to the really funny look that Toya gives to Gary when he asks another man, I forgot who it was.
I think it was Ed.
And he's like, who was the first person in the world to use a cash machine? And he's like, Reg Varney. And Gary gives Toya, she gives this like really funny, like, I can't believe this man facts.
Man
facts brought to you by Gary.
There was a little bit of a censoring there, I have to say.
I said the wrong word.
Gemma said the wrong word and Michael deleted what she actually said.
Michael when I say a rude word or something wrong, Michael makes me sit and watch him delete it in front of me like I'm a dog that's just sick on the floor.
We have had some comments on our Facebook group this week, haven't we, about my censoring of you last week. Yeah, haven't you seen those ones? Yeah, people said that when I censored you last week, I was being overly prissy about it.
What did I... Yeah, you're right. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Well,
you misogynist.
To stop calling everybody a misogynist. We're not all misogynists,
all
Gemma.
All men are misogynists. And stalkers.
For heaven's sake. That's what you have to put up with. Right. Is our character of the week Alya?
Yeah, it has to be.
It has to be, really, doesn't it? Yes. She's not going to get much chance. I mean, maybe she will in the future. Listen, I don't know. But
this could be a new dawn for Alya.
It could. Yeah.
Maybe she could get shot in a box.
Better late than never. Better Alya than
better
never.
Out than in.
Okay.
Better Reg Varney than the other guy that was second in line. The Buzz Aldrin of Cash Points. Who's that? What?
I don't know. So my brain is just going doolally. It's 20-1 at night. We've still got. It's flipping late.
I thought it was 10:30.
No, that'd be ridiculous.